At exactly 8 o'clock in the evening, something insane happened on TV. The news just barged in, totally serious, and announced something that shook the whole country. They said Lee Seo-jun, the S-class mage everybody loved, had died fighting some evil dragon in the middle of Seoul. They said the monster was called Cruz, and poor Seo-jun died trying to stop it. The guy was only 25 and had been out there saving the day since 2034, so everyone was totally gutted about it. The country even decided to build memorials for him everywhere. That's how much people respected the dude. While everyone else was freaking out, our protagonist, Kim Sun-woo, was just sitting all alone in his room. He turned off the TV with a shaky hand, looking like he had just seen a ghost. He was actually muttering to himself that this couldn't be real, and then he just flopped down on his couch like his legs gave up. Our MC's face was pure terror, bro. He kept telling himself this had to be some kind of fake news, but deep down he knew it was true. He couldn't stop thinking about Lee Seo-jun. That genius mage had always been the main character in this story, facing monsters, being a total legend, and, honestly, everyone thought he'd get a happy ending. Here's the wild part. Sun-woo knew Lee Seo-jun wasn't just some celebrity. He was the main character of a novel called The Modern Wizard. Sun-woo believed that if the plot just played like it should, everyone would survive, the story would end, and maybe, just maybe, he'd get to go back to his real world. But now, with the dragon and the death of the MC, all hope was gone. Our boy was really losing it, worrying what would happen to him now. No way was he ever seeing his friends again. Then, out of nowhere, his brain flashed back to this night in a bar with his friends. Someone at the table was asking if anyone would try to grab all the secret power-ups if they got stuck as a background character they possessed in a novel. One girl at the table said of course she would, no doubt about it. But Kim Sun-woo, yeah, our boy himself, totally disagreed and called that idea crazy. He explained that messing with the story for no reason would either just get you killed or cause the main character's death, which would basically be hitting the game over screen. He even admitted he wasn't sure he could handle all the pain and effort the real protagonist had to go through. And his friends actually agreed. Even if they made fun of him for being so negative, they all did a toast for his realism, but you know, kind of sarcastic. Then, his phone buzzed in his pocket. He checked it, and there was some weird winning event notification. His friend thought he was lucky, and the message said he'd won a ticket to a super special place, with an accept or decline button. Looking at that, of course, Sun-woo becomes all hype. The group started joking that maybe it was some big vacation prize. Getting a free vacation in Bali, for example, who doesn't want that? While he was still wondering if it was a trip overseas, he just went ahead and tapped the accept button. And just like that, 7 years ago, he fell into a magic circle and got thrown right into the world of The Modern Wizard, the actual book he loved so much. Now, sitting in his room, our poor guy was holding his head, super confused and in pain. He couldn't believe how messed up the story had become. He had always tried to stay out of the main story, just watching from the sidelines so nothing would get changed. But now, everything was wrong. While he was panicking, the TV started going all glitchy and shooting out weird sparks. He stood up, seriously worried, wondering why all this crazy stuff was happening at once. He didn't even have time to finish his thought. Suddenly, the sky cracked, and this bright light exploded out. He screamed like hell, because he saw the world around him breaking apart. He even watched his own body start to fade as the whole city outside turned into shards of light. People, buildings, everything just fell apart like some insane video game glitch. He yelled, wondering why all this was happening. That's when a bunch of red system messages popped up in front of him, telling him the worst news ever. The messages explained that Lee Seo-jun had died. All the main storylines had failed. And because the story couldn't keep going, the system was going to reset the whole world. Dude, the world literally shattered around our MC like a broken mirror. He totally blacked out as everything crumbled away. And suddenly, the world became pitch black. Then, out of nowhere, he heard a sharp voice yelling at him to wake up because they had arrived at the academy. He opened his eyes and realized he was on a bus, with the driver shouting at him for taking too long to get off. Still in shock, our MC jumped up and apologized, wondering why the driver was calling him student. He got off the bus, totally confused. He was sure he'd been in his room just a second ago, so how the hell did he end up on a school bus? As he walked, he kept checking this place, trying to figure out if this was all just a dream from the world collapsing. The sunlight hit him right in the face, and he saw this huge building with banners everywhere, saying, "Welcome to the entrance ceremony for Korea Magic Academy, class of 2032. That was the place he'd already graduated from. Yeah, our boy was seriously about to lose his mind. He just stood there, frozen like a statue, with his mouth hanging open. The year was 2032? Yeah, 7 years back in the past. He checked his clothes and almost lost it when he saw the school uniform on his body. He stared at his hands, blinking like he'd just seen a ghost. And the truth started to hit him hard. He really had gone back in time. Loudspeakers started blasting all over the grand hall. welcoming the students and telling everyone to grab a seat for the entrance ceremony. Our MC walked through the sea of students, totally dizzy, muttering under his breath that this was way too much for his brain. He kept looking around, left and right, and every little detail was exactly how he remembered it from 7 years ago. At that point, he had to admit there was no escape. He was seriously back in the past. But right as he tried to wrap his head around all this, a giant question smashed into his mind. Why did Lee Seo-jun die in the future? In the novel, none of that was supposed to happen. The dragon attack, Cruz going berserk, all of that was just like the story. But the main character should have survived after a tough fight. Our MC's face went dark, looking super suspicious. And he realized something big was missing. There had to be some secret reason for Seo-jun's death that never showed up in the book. He then sort of crashed onto his seat, feeling like all the energy just leaked out of him. He whispered to himself that he had no idea what was going on. The poor guy sat there, thinking way too hard about what might happen if Lee Seo-jun died again in this new timeline. He got super anxious, wondering if he'd get sent even further back next time, or if maybe the world would just explode for real. One thing was crystal clear now. At all costs, Lee Seo-jun could not die. He clenched his fist, looking ready to fight a bear. The guy knew he had to actually do something in this life. No more hiding in the corner if he wanted to get back to his real world. He stared up at Lee Seo-jun at the front of the room with an intense face, making a promise to himself to keep that dude alive, no matter what. If he wanted to reach the end of the story, he had to work fast. So, our hero jumped right into action, deciding to get close to one of the other main characters. He waved at the girl sitting next to him and tried out his friendliest smile. Now, this girl? She was Yu-ara, the second-ranked student in the whole second year. She shot him this icy look and asked if he actually knew her, pretty much grumbling about how weird it was for him to act so familiar when they barely knew each other. RMC got thrown off by her attitude and just kind of sat there, confused. She asked if he had something to say to her. He stammered and said no, so she turned away and told him to stop staring, because it was making her uncomfortable. Our boy tried to laugh it off and wipe sweat from his face, but he could already tell getting close to these top students was going to be a nightmare. Before he could recover, the announcement called for the class reps to get up on stage. 3 students went up, while everyone started whispering and getting all excited. Every single eye in the room was glued to Lee Seo-jun, who was number 1 in the second year, and everyone kept talking about how amazing he looked and how he trained directly with the school chairman. Lee Seo-jun was already famous, and in the book, he was basically the super solo hero who did everything himself. The top girl from the first year also stepped up, looking super pretty and confident, but our MC could tell that her smile was totally fake. She was probably planning something big. The third rep was this senator guy who had been top of the class for 3 years straight, but honestly, he looked kind of ordinary, and our MC had to admit he didn't know much about him since he didn't really show up in the original story. The 3 reps stood up straight and got ready for the student oath. Meanwhile, our hero noticed that Yu-ara was shooting these sharp, angry glares at the stage. He figured this was his chance to look cool, so he leaned over and said out loud that it was a real shame. Yu-ara turned to him with laser eyes and asked if he was talking to her. He said yes. She got even more sarcastic and wanted to know what exactly was so sad. He pointed at the stage and told her he actually thought she was better than the 2 up there. She just rolled her eyes and told him he was hilarious, asking what he even knew and if he had ever seen those guys use magic before. He freaked out and waved his hands, saying no, but she scolded him for running his mouth about stuff he didn't understand. But our MC decided to play it cool, looked her in the eyes, and said he could just tell by looking, which made her stop and stare at him like he was some kind of pervert. Kim Sun-woo grinned and tried to show off, saying he had a 6th sense that was always right. But Yu-ara was not impressed. She glared at him and asked if he was making fun of her, and he tried to play it off, but that only made things worse. She sighed, looked away, and totally ignored him after that. Our MC realized, yeah, this approach was a total fail. So, the poor guy switched tactics. He suddenly asked if she had been worried about her career path lately. That made her freeze, and she secretly freaked out, wondering how he could possibly know that. She stared at his name tag, Kim Sun-woo, and then her eyes flashed this creepy glare. She said in the coldest voice ever that she remembered his name now, but warned him not to talk to her ever again. Our boy just sat there, stunned and embarrassed, clapping his hands like he'd given up. He had to admit, man, he totally crashed and burned at making friends with the important people. Rough start for our hero, but hey, at least he's trying. Anyway, the new semester kicked off with the dreaded placement test, which was basically a big show where every student had to prove how good they really were in front of the whole school. The vibes? Total panic. Some guy was nearly crying to his friend, telling him there was no way he could compete with all these monsters, while the friend tried to calm him down and said it was going to be fine. But our hero, Kim Sun-woo? Oh, this dude was just chilling with a cocky grin, watching everyone freak out and thinking they were nothing but a bunch of cute kids. This life, He wants to be in the top 10 for the second year, because last time around, the man got offers for B rank promotion. But because he didn't want to stand up, he stuck to his C rank. No way was he going to act basic now and embarrass himself in front of these scrubs. That would have stung his pride too much. Ara, sitting nearby, spotted that weird smile and whispered under her breath, wondering what the hell was up with this guy. Our MC just got ready to show everyone what a real pro looked like. The show started with the first year rep. This girl stepped up, blasted her magic with crazy speed and power, and absolutely obliterated the training dummies, like, bro. There was nothing left but smoke. The students freaked out, saying she was insane for her age. Then it was time for the second years. Ara got called up. She walked out like she owned the place, set her palm on fire, and exploded the target dummy in a flash of flames and flying debris. Everyone lost it, asking each other if she was really their age or some kind of legend in disguise. One guy told his buddy that Ara was basically a legend, but nobody could ever outshine Lee Seo-jun. He always stole the spotlight no matter what. Right on cue, Lee Seo-jun stepped up, pulled out his sword, and pretty much turned into a flash of light. Dude zipped around the dummies so fast that no one could keep up, shredding them with perfect moves. The whole school went nuts. Meanwhile, our boy Kim Sunwoo checked Ara's face and saw that she was dying inside from jealousy. No matter how awesome she was, first place always got snatched away by Seo-jun and his pro-level skills. Tough world out here, man. Finally, the teacher called out the last name, Kim Sunwoo, Class A. Our guy jumped up with a huge grin and said, finally, it was his time to shine. The teachers all looked confused, wondering who the hell this kid even was, since nobody really remembered him from last year. Even his own teacher had to double-check the records. She found he was supposed to be good at reinforcement magic, but she was surprised to see him step up without any weapon to buff. The teachers figured maybe he'd changed over to manifestation magic, like some students did. Our MC walked up to the line, stood in front of the dummies, and started charging up blue energy in his hand. The teacher mumbled about how some students just picked whatever was cool, instead of what they were actually good at. Her friend agreed, but then she went quiet. Something was weird about this kid. The energy in his hand started spinning at insane speed, and the teacher had to ask herself if he was using the compressed manifestation technique. It's supposed to be the first real step of manifestation magic, but even the old pros were scared to try it. A second year pulling this off? Unheard of. Ara's eyes went wide, and even Mr. Superstar Lee Seo-jun finally looked surprised. The teachers were freaking out quietly, not believing what they saw. Then, boom, a blue energy beam shot out from our MC's hand, blasting across the room toward the targets. The whole place went silent watching those dummies. But then, instead of a giant explosion, the magic fizzled out with this weak, sad little pop. The whole room just lost it laughing. The other students roasted him, saying he ran out of mana and what was the point of all that hype if he couldn't even finish. Ouch. That had to hurt. Our poor MC just stood there, frozen, dying of embarrassment and thinking he was totally doomed. But then, out of nowhere, blue windows started popping up in front of his face. The guy freaked out inside, wondering why the system had to show up right at that moment. Later, he was lying on his bed, sighing with relief that the madness was finally over. He was so shocked the system windows came up so early. Last time, it took forever to unlock this stuff. He couldn't figure out why it was different now. He flashed back to the test, remembering how those system messages kept appearing. The system said it unlocked outsider benefits and was now fully activated. The main scenario finally began, and our MC bagged an achievement called Second Round of Life, which dropped him 3,000 points. Then, just to rub it in, he got a weird achievement called Clown Talent, worth 5,000 points. Apparently, 232 people remembered his face now, and that got him another 1,000 points, while he was literally running away from everyone laughing at him. Even more nuts. The system said Lee Seo-jun and 4 other main characters were now interested in him, and that was another 3,000 points. The poor guy sat on his bed, looking at his total. 10,000 points in no time. He realized he needed those outsider benefits to use them, but that's a special cheat only he had for being a possessed person in this world. He could open windows, check stats, rack up points from achievements, and get bonus fame points every time he became more notorious. But the best part? The point shop. That's where he could buy traits, skills, and items. Our boy grinned, thinking this was totally overpowered and, honestly, pretty unfair. That's life for you, man. Sometimes you bomb in front of everyone, and sometimes you just level up like crazy. Despite feeling pretty good about all those points he just got, but then he remembered that title, Clown Talent. That one hurt. He started picturing himself in full clown gear, all while the whole school pointed and laughed. And dude, he finally realized why his magic flopped so hard in front of everyone. Back at this point in the timeline, his mana was totally garbage. No wonder his spell fizzled out like a wet firecracker. It sucked, but he had to admit, this was the first time he ever got so much attention in both his lives. At least he got points, but he still wasn't sure if he could accept being called a clown. Trying to move on, our boy decided he better check his stats. So he asked the system to open up his status window. The screen popped up, name, points, all that stuff, but then he saw his numbers and totally freaked out. Health at 42, strength just 34, and mana, a sad little 21. The guy just started screaming inside, wondering where all that hard work from his past life went. All his stats were reset to square one. Our MC was trembling, suffering a full heartbreak, and asking himself how long it was going to take to get those numbers back up. But then he just stopped cold. Suddenly, his eyes lit up like he'd just solved a puzzle. If everything got wiped, then that meant he could actually build his stats however he wanted this time. This was a golden chance, bro. He started thinking about the 4 kinds of magic in this world: reinforcement, manifestation, support, and summoning. Reinforcement made your body and weapons super strong for up-close fighting. Manifestation was the classic style, where you blast out spells. Summoning called all sorts of creatures, and support gave magic boosts or help. Sun Wu always picked manifestation, just because it looked flashy and cool. Yeah, that was kind of a shallow reason, and it made him laugh a little, but hey, he liked what he liked. So, he decided right then, Monostat was going to be his #1 focus. Out of nowhere, the system butted in with an update. Now 350 people remembered his face, and that scored him 1,000 more points. He just stared, totally shocked. How did that number go up by a lot already? Then it hit him. Acting like a clown in the test made him famous, even if it was for something dumb. But points were points, and our MC was starting to think this was a pretty sweet deal. He even gave himself a big thumbs up, thinking this was actually awesome. Before he could even finish feeling proud, bam, another system window popped up. Now it said 400 people remembered his face, and he got another 2,000 points. That just blew his mind, bro. There weren't even that many students at the academy. How could so many people know about him already? He grabbed his phone and checked out the Great Sage Forest, the academy's online community. And there it was, a video blowing up called Crazy S-Class Mage Scandal. People were posting comments non-stop, making fun of him left and right, and some even said he must have paid his way in. That was rough, not gonna lie. But the system handed him another 5,000 points for the chaos. In the end, he just grinned. If people wanted to keep watching and trolling, he was totally fine with it as long as he got more points. He stared at his phone, eyes sparkling, already planning what he could buy with all those points. The next day, our hero strutted into the academy. It was like he was wearing a clown sign. Everyone knew him from that viral video. Students were whispering the second he walked by, but he honestly didn't care. In fact, he was secretly hoping they'd talk even more, because every new view on that video meant more points for him. Once he remembered all the comments calling him weak or sick, he couldn't help but laugh. All that drama got him another 5,000 points, so why not enjoy it? He opened the classroom door, and for a moment, the place went dead quiet. Then the whispers started. Yep, everyone was talking about him again. Out of nowhere, this student pointed right at him, yelling across the room. The guy had blonde hair and just strolled up, threw his arm around Sun Wu's shoulder like they were buddies, but in a totally rude way. He started roasting Sun Wu for being so hilarious yesterday, and said everyone laughed so hard thanks to him. His buddies in the back were cracking up too. Then another dude joined in, asking how Sun Wu ran out of mana so fast, and joking about his family bribing the academy to get him in. Our MC knew exactly who this blonde punk was, Park In-hwan, the classic bully from the original story. Sun Wu just sighed inside, knowing this dude was nothing but trouble, so he tried to give him the cold shoulder and ignore him. But Park In-hwan wasn't letting go. He squeezed Sun Wu's shoulder even harder and got right in his face, calling him dumbass. He told Sun Wu that from now on, he had to run over the second someone called him, or else he would make his life a living nightmare at school. Pretty messed up, honestly. Just as things were about to get bad, a calm but strong voice called out, telling that brat to knock it off. Everyone turned. Lee Seo-jun was standing there, looking all serious, and he told him that he had already warned him about bullying people. In-hwan looked super annoyed, but he backed off, throwing some shade at Seo-jun for trying to act like the hero and saying that weaklings like them just needed to obey. He shot Sun Wu one last death glare, then grabbed his gang and stormed out, leaving the classroom feeling super tense. The other students started whispering again. Lee Seo-jun turned to Sun Wu, asking if he was alright. Sun Wu kept it short and thanked him, but Seo-jun kept talking, wanting to check if he was really the guy from the viral video everyone was talking about. That made Sun Wu laugh awkwardly and try to play it cool, but inside, he was dying of embarrassment, wondering how he was supposed to live with this much shame following him around now. Seo-jun noticed he was stressing hard, so he reassured him there was no need to freak out about it. All the blame belonged to whoever posted that video, not to Sun Wu himself. After that, Seo-jun started walking out, but Sun Wu decided he wasn't letting this chance slip away. He called out to Seo-jun, all serious, And out of nowhere, our MC hit him with a wild request. He wanted to team up for the next class project. Sunwoo's eyes had this hungry, gotta-win shine, like he really believed this was his golden shot to stick close to the main character. Seo Jun's face? Man, the dude was just confused. He wanted to know why the last place guy would even pick him. Our protagonist stepped in closer, rocking a sly little smile, and whispered that teaming up would actually help Seo Jun too. You could tell Seo Jun was not expecting this. He just stood there for a full second, hand on his chin, looking like he was trying to figure out if Sunwoo was trolling him or not. After thinking it over, he lifted his hand and politely told our MC that, honestly, he'd never really thought about picking him for a team. Ouch. But you think Sunwoo was giving up that easy? No way, bro. He jumped straight back in, saying he had two really good reasons why Seo Jun should team up with him. That made Seo Jun pause, and he asked what those reasons were. He even cracked a little smile, like he was finally a tiny bit interested. First, Sunwoo held up a finger and said he was literally ranked dead last in all of second year. Seo Jun just started laughing, thinking that's a terrible reason. But Sunwoo was quick to explain. If the first place student teams up with the last place student, their group's points get a bonus right away because of how the scoring works. Now that got Seo Jun thinking. Yeah, the logic made sense, but he muttered that it still sounded risky to him. Sunwoo was ready. He hit him with the second reason. He pointed out that Ara, their biggest rival, had already picked 2 weak students for her team. He explained that Ara specialized in huge attack magic, so she could carry her squad even with those guys dragging her down, and Seo Jun had to agree with that one. Right when Seo Jun thought Sunwoo was done, our boy threw up 3 fingers instead of 2. Seo Jun blinked, like hold up, weren't there just 2 reasons? Sunwoo grinned super wide, pointed at himself with his thumb, and said the best reason. He actually had real skills. Even if he was last place on paper, bro, that got Seo Jun laughing hard. He told him that he was way more interesting than he looked, and right then and there, he agreed to form a team. Sunwoo was practically screaming with joy inside, already imagining his stats flying up. But of course, there was a catch. Seo Jun quickly said he had a condition. He wanted to pick who else would join their team. He even grabbed Sunwoo's hand for an official handshake, asking if that was cool with him. Right at that moment, a system window popped up to say that Lee Seo Jun was now deeply interested in our MC, and Sunwoo got hit with a clean 2,000-point bonus. Did he mind the condition? Nope, not at all. The poor guy would have probably agreed to anything right then. The story jumped to the next class, where the teacher started a lecture about magic artifacts and how things used to work back in the day. She asked the class why the old system failed and fell apart. Sunwoo shot his hand up like a rocket, totally confident. He started explaining, super clearly, that Holgum was the first reinforcement mage in the 18th century and that his appearance flipped everyone out. Old school mages thought manifestation magic was #1, but Holgum's skills made everyone rethink everything. His answer was so good, the teacher gave him props right in front of everyone. Sunwoo sat back, looking all smug. He thought to himself that these old magic theories and formulas were supposed to be hard, even for genius types like Seo Jun. But for him, his outsider system just spat out all the answers and even explained the tough parts, so he could ace anything, no sweat. He smiled to himself, knowing the written exams would be easy money. But yo, the haters in the back row noticed. They started whispering, calling him Hermione for being a nerd, and wondering why he even bothered studying so hard when he always came in last on tests. Sunwoo heard all that, and he just muttered under his breath that, if they were so salty, they should say it to his face instead of acting like jealous cowards. Class ended, and the teacher dropped the lunch break announcement. Everybody made a break for the cafeteria. Sunwoo was about to just wander off solo like always, but someone called his name. He spun around. It was Seo Jun, looking way friendlier now and asking if he wanted to grab lunch together to celebrate their new team. That sounded almost too good to be true. While they were hunting for a table, another dude started waving like crazy from across the room. It was Shin Young-jun, one of the OG main characters and Seo Jun's old buddy. He welcomed Seo Jun, joked about him being late, and then finally noticed Sunwoo tagging along. But suddenly, Young-jun recognized Sunwoo's face and pointed, saying he was the guy from that viral clown video. Sunwoo admitted it, kind of dying inside but trying to act chill. Young-jun wondered when the two became close friends, and Seo Jun explained they just made a deal. They were going dungeon diving together the day after tomorrow. That news made Young-jun super confused. He leaned in to whisper, asking Seo Jun if he seriously believed he could take first place without getting that bonus from teaming up with the last place guy, and why he was making things so complicated. Seo Jun's face went totally serious. He explained that Ara was out for blood this time, and she'd already picked 2 weaklings for her squad to boost her own score. That bit of news hit Young-jun like a punch, bro. She was really intense this time. Seo Jun agreed that Ara really was a piece of work with her sharp attitude, so at least they were on the same page there. As they were eating, a super pretty student looked up at their table. She was the first-year representative student, and suddenly froze when she noticed Seo Jun talking with Sun Woo, who's the guy from that clown video in Great Sage Forest. Her friend asked what she was staring at, but this girl, Seo Yuna, just threw on the fakest smile and said it was nothing at all. Bro, she tried to act all cool, but as soon as her friend looked away, her face switched up. She was now full-on suspicious, side-eyeing Sun Woo like she was trying to figure out how this loser got close to Lee So-jun. Our MC was starting to build a reputation, but maybe not the one he wanted. Later, it was time for training at the hall. Everyone was practicing magic, and Sun Woo was off in his own little world, determined to finally pull off his spell right. He put everything into focusing his mana. This time, he wanted to nail both the gathering and the release, not just mess up and embarrass himself again. He made blue energy swirl in his hand, then launched it like a boss. The shot hit the target dead on, stable and clean. The other students in the hall started whispering, surprised that Kim Sun-woo didn't suck as much as they thought. Some even admitted he was actually pretty decent. Our MC just wiped sweat off his forehead, wearing this sarcastic little smirk. In his head, he joked that he could hear every word they said about him. Haters gonna hate, but at least they were talking. While he was riding that high, Sun-woo's mind flashed back to his old life, thinking about how he used to spend his system points. Back then, he'd just buy stats directly. Seemed simple, right? But of course, life wasn't so easy. Every 10 times he bought a stat, the price went up by 10 points. Kind of like how games make leveling up harder and harder. So, he realized just maxing out his stats like that would burn through his points way too fast. Not smart. He figured out he needed a better long-term plan. Instead of wasting points, he decided to look for traits or items that would boost his mana the smart way. He opened up the point shop and searched for mana. There were a ton of options, but he was hunting for one special trait from the original novel. And boom, there it was. Nature's Protection. Grade A. This thing gave him passive mana absorption from nature, and when he used the active skill Nature's Blessing, he could boost his mana gain by up to 150%, depending on where he was. The price? 50,000 points. Ouch. But our MC didn't even flinch. He bought it right away. Not stopping there, he picked up the Returner's Watch, a grade B item that let his health and mana recover crazy fast. 200% faster than normal. To afford all this, he had to sell off his Master of Cooking trait, grade A, which he inherited in this life, because, well, the system also lets him sell traits. He was a little salty about losing his chef skills, but honestly, he knew this trade was worth it. With his new setup, he was way ahead of where he was last time around. Out of nowhere, his phone buzzed, snapping him out of his thoughts. Weird, since nobody ever called him. He checked and saw he'd been added to a chat group called Group 3, the team for the big project. The group had Jung Jin-tae, Lee So-jun, Yoon Ha-young, and Shin Ji-hyuk. Sun-woo barely recognized any of them except Yoon Ha-young, and she was a minor character at this point. But he knew she'd become super important later on. Seo-jun kicked off the chat, asking everyone to list their main magic type so they'd know their roles. One by one, people answered. Shin Ji-hyuk said he did support. Yoon Ha-young said she was all about ice magic, and Jung Jin-tae was into reinforcement. When it was Sun-woo's turn, he just wrote that he did manifestation with no element. Then Ji-hyuk dropped a snarky reply. He joked that the whole school already knew that thanks to the viral video. That stung, not gonna lie. Sun-woo got annoyed, pressed his phone way too hard, and told them he was just stating facts. After that, he leaned back and started planning. With Lee So-jun as the main attacker, everyone else could support, but to win first place, they'd need to destroy Yu-ara's team. Our boy was seriously curious about who she picked for her squad. Meanwhile, out in the training yard, Yu-ara was going totally nuts with her magic. She blasted a fire spell so brutal that the watching students basically freaked out, calling her insane. The teacher watched, gave her some tips. She said Ara was great at control, but needed to focus more on raw power and making her spells go faster. Even though the teacher admired Yu-ara's talent, she noticed the girl was still a little rough around the edges. But hold up, the teacher suddenly turned in shock as another spell shot across the yard. It was Sun-woo again, nailing a perfect magic beam. Super controlled and precise. The teacher actually looked impressed. She remembered how Sun-woo used to mess up at the release stage, but now, even with barely any mana, he was pulling off the optimal balance. The teacher thought to herself that it was pretty wild for a student this young to spot his own biggest flaw and actually fix it. After that, the teacher said that the class was finally over, and you could see the relief on everyone's face. The students just dipped out of there as fast as possible, totally wiped from all the training. Our boy, Sun-woo, was ready to head out himself, but just as he tried to leave, the teacher called him back. She walked up to him, looking pretty interested, and asked if he had been training lately. He told her yeah. He'd been putting in the work in his free time. The teacher kept pressing. this time about mana cultivation, and said he definitely did that too, right? Man. Our MC knew immediately she figured out his weak spot. Dude had some fancy technique, but his mana was still kind of trash. He admitted she was right. Instead of roasting him, the teacher gave him a soft smile and started with some advice. She told him that getting more mana isn't about cheap tricks. It takes a ton of effort and patience. Sun Woo got all fired up and said he was ready to grind it out, but before he could go full motivational speech, the teacher stopped him. She pulled out a little bracelet and handed it over, saying it was a training tool to help control mana breathing and keep his body in shape. Our MC just stared at it, super awkward, and asked if he was really allowed to take something like that. The teacher just laughed and told him not to worry. It was only an F-rank tool she made for practice. Nothing special. Sun Woo thanked her, promising to put it to good use, and the teacher waved him off. As soon as he got out into the hall, our guy was hyped about his new loot. But then, out of nowhere, he spotted Asura standing against the wall, giving him that legendary death stare. Sun Woo tried to break the ice and joked if he was finally allowed to talk to her again, since last time she shut him down hard. Asura wasn't here for jokes. She just glared at him and asked if it was true he joined Lee Seo-jun's team. Bro. She basically accused him of using Lee Seo-jun to boost himself up the ladder, and said, straight up, that first place was hers this time. No matter what. She told him he needed a reality check, then stormed off, leaving our MC just standing there, totally lost, and seriously wondering why she hated him so much. Fast forward to Thursday morning, Sun Woo was running to the meeting spot at the edge of the forest, nearly late but made it just in time. Lee Seo-jun was already there, greeting everyone with his usual confident, friendly smile. He pointed out this was the first time the whole team got together and told them to do their best for the semester. The team got hyped up, but Shin Ji-hyuk, of course, had to act like a clown, saying it was weird to have both the first place and last place students on the same team. Then he threw shade at Sun Woo, bringing up that whole disaster during the last test where he couldn't even cast a spell. Sun Woo stared back at him, dead cold, knowing this dude was trying to get under his skin. Young Jin-tae jumped in, laughing it off and saying, since Lee Seo-jun picked Sun Woo for the team, he could be the one to babysit him. Our boy just shot Ji-hyuk a dirty look and realized this guy was just planning to coast and let Seo-jun carry him. No effort at all. While that little drama played out, Yoon Ha-young walked up to Seo-jun with a gentle smile, asking how he was doing. Sun Woo watched her and thought it was kind of wild, since in the original story, she didn't really get her big moment until way later. The whole team lineup was way different from before, and that made our MC even more nervous. He started stressing about whether this test would go smoothly with all these weird team members. Right then, the teacher called for everyone's attention and started explaining how the dungeon exploration would work. The class was split into morning and evening shifts, but since it was day one, they would only go down to the first basement floor. The teacher broke down the scoring system. The faster your team cleared the dungeon, the more bonus points you got. Then there were these rank adjustment points, which meant Seo-jun picked Sun Woo to get more points for carrying a lower-ranked teammate. Finally, they had contribution points, so whoever did more in the fight would score extra, since the dungeons tracked that stuff automatically. All the students started getting hyped, shouting and cheering. The teacher finished up by telling everyone to enter as teams and reminded them to stay safe above all. Meanwhile, in the monitoring room, Teacher Jang strolled in late. The other teachers were all ready to start their usual betting game over which team would score the highest. But it was a joke. Everyone picked Ura's team, so there was no real competition. When Jang picked her group 2, the whole bet was basically dead. But then, out of nowhere, the teacher who gave Sun Woo the bracelet raised her hand with a confident grin and said she would take the bet and pick Group 3, Lee Seo-jun's squad. Hearing that, Teacher Jang just could not believe it. He tried to explain, saying sure, both teams had strong leaders, but when you looked at the bottom-ranked kids on each side, Ura's team was just way better overall. Then he got a bit technical about it, going on about how Lee Seo-jun was a beast at reinforcement magic. But that kind of skill was all about solo fighting, not taking on crowds. Seo-jun would have a hard time against big mobs if his team wasn't strong. To prove his point, he even showed everyone how Ura was basically destroying everything in her path with massive magic and was already halfway through the first floor. But the teacher just smiled and said she still believed in the rebellion of the last place underdog. She told them all to just keep watching and see what happens. Honestly, gotta respect her confidence. Back in the dungeon, Seo-jun was definitely showing everyone why he's the top guy. He just walked up and sliced a huge monster in half with one swing. His team was feeling pretty good, following close behind him like they were on a field trip with Superman. Ji-hyuk, being his usual hype man self, started bragging about how fast they were moving and joked about what kind of boss would even be on the first floor. He was sure it was going to be some weakling, and the other dude went along with the joke. Ha-young wasn't so sure though. She looked a little worried and asked Sun Woo what he thought. Our boy just hit her with a cool look and said he expected a giant wolf to show up. Ji-hyuk stopped and glared at him, acting like Sun-woo was just making stuff up. He hit him with a suspicious stare and demanded to know how he could possibly know that. Sun-woo just shrugged and told him it was a secret, but inside, he was laughing because, come on, he literally lived through this mess already. Ji-hyuk started laughing like Sun-woo was a certified liar and tried to annoy him even more, acting all childish and asking if he was mad. That's when Seo-jun stepped in and told them both to cut it out and keep moving. Ji-hyuk grumbled but listened. Then suddenly Seo-jun froze in his tracks and told everyone to stop. The whole team looked at him, totally confused. He had spotted something weird on the ground. A glowing blue magic circle. The team all crowded around but nobody could figure out what it was. Jin-tae got nervous and started asking what a magic circle was doing there and whether it was dangerous. Ji-hyuk insisted there was no way the academy would put something that deadly in the training dungeon. Sun-woo, being the only one with a clue, got down on one knee to check it out, even though Seo-jun warned him to be careful. Sun-woo just told him to relax. He was only taking a look. And right away, he realized this circle wasn't dangerous at all. It was just a simple barrier. Ji-hyuk kept giving him the stink eye, acting like there was no way he could know that, but Sun-woo was totally sure. So, he put his hand right on the barrier to prove his point. Everyone started freaking out a bit, thinking maybe the barrier meant they'd have to turn around and find another way. But Seo-jun wasn't about to let some blue circle stop him. He drew his sword and told everyone to stand back, then started charging up with that crazy golden aura of his. He swung down hard, causing a huge boom and sparks everywhere, and even managed to crack the barrier a little. Ji-hyuk and Ha-young cheered, thinking they were about to break through. But of course, when the smoke cleared, the barrier was still sitting there like nothing happened. You could see the disappointment all over their faces. Seo-jun wasn't ready to give up though. He just readied his sword again, and said he could do it if he focused more. But then Ji-hyuk decided it was finally his time to shine. He stepped forward, acting all smug about being the support guy, and said to, "Wait a sec." He touched the magic circle, but right away, he realized it was way more complicated than he thought. He started mumbling about how normal methods would take 40 minutes to solve this thing. Sun-woo just rolled his eyes and said he'd handle it. Ji-hyuk flipped out, yelling at him to stop and asking what the hell he was doing. But Sun-woo ignored him and activated his outsider benefits. The system lit up instantly. Little digital screens popped up in front of his face, and the magic formula got broken down in record time. The magic became like a puzzle word, so our boy could easily complete the puzzle and break the barrier. In one smooth move, he triggered the barrier and it split open with a flash of blue light, clearing the path. The whole team just stood there, totally stunned, as the barrier faded away. Sun-woo turned back to them like a boss and told them he was done. Seo-jun and Ji-hyuk looked at him like he just did a magic trick, completely in shock and wondering how the hell he solved it that fast. Right then, a big system window popped up, telling him that Lee Seo-jun was amazed by him and his interest had gone up. Apparently, Seo-jun's interest level reached level 1 and the system dropped 5,000 points in his account. RMC just stood there, super confused, thinking to himself what this interest level even was. Anyway, at the top of the stairs, a giant wolf suddenly popped out from the shadows. This thing looked totally ferocious, like it was ready to eat someone for breakfast, and the whole team just froze. Everyone turned to look at Kim Sun-woo, thinking about how he had totally called this, like, dude, how did he know there would be a wolf boss? But there was no time to freak out, because the wolf jumped at them with insane speed. Just when things were about to get messy, Seo-jun leapt into action. He jumped into the air, swinging his sword like some kind of anime hero, and boom! One crazy fast move and the wolf went down. Hard. Seo-jun landed like he did this every day, and the huge wolf crashed behind him, totally finished. Honestly, that was sick. Everyone's fear disappeared instantly, and Ha-young actually started laughing, saying beating the floor boss was so easy it was almost boring. The test was over, so the whole team walked out through the dungeon gate, ready to hear the results. Their teacher met them outside, looking pretty satisfied, and told them Group 3 got second place for the first week. Everyone was excited for a second, until Seo-jun looked shocked and asked who got first. The teacher told him Group 7, led by Yu-ara, finished a whole 30 minutes before they did. Seo-jun could only give a bitter smile, realizing Yu-ara's team was no joke. The team started stressing out, especially since Yu-ara's group beat them by a whole 30 minutes, where the third place was right behind them. Seo-jun turned to Sun-woo and put his hand on our boy's shoulder, telling everyone it was Sun-woo's skills that saved their time. Sun-woo tried to say the credit wasn't his, but Seo-jun was not having it, insisting that if Sun-woo hadn't broken that magic barrier so fast, they'd be way behind. He then started blaming himself for not pushing harder for first place, but Ha-young jumped in and told him it wasn't fair to blame himself. Our MC, trying to be wise for a sec, got everyone together and said they shouldn't worry, this was just the first floor in the first week, and there were still plenty of chances to turn the tables. Just as they were about to leave, there were loud footsteps, and a teacher with bright red hair showed up, calling out Sun Woo's name. He recognized her right away. It was the teacher in charge of the support magic department. She marched over, looking like she meant business, and told him she had a special offer for him. Then, out of nowhere, she grabbed his hand with crazy energy and told him to transfer to the support department immediately. Our poor guy was just standing there, totally shocked, not getting what was happening. He pulled his hand back and coolly told her he wasn't interested. The teacher exploded, yelling that he couldn't just say no like that and needed to at least hear her out. She went all in, offering a special scholarship for talents worth 50 million won. But Sun Woo kept his face blank and told her, "Nope, still not interested." You should have seen the faces on his teammates. Ji Hyuk and the others looked at him like he was out of his mind. Even random students started whispering, saying he sucked at manifestation magic anyway, and anyone else would jump at an offer like that. But our MC just stood there, not saying a word, not moving an inch. Right then, Ara joined the conversation. She asked if he was really sure he didn't want to switch, pointing out that support talents get tons of benefits besides just the money. Sun Woo turned to her, gave a confident smile, and thanked her, but said he'd stick with manifestation magic. Ara just stared, totally confused about why this guy wanted to stay in a field he clearly wasn't mastering. Dude, she did not get it. Later, while Sun Woo was busy cleaning the corridor, Yuna came walking over with big, confident steps. She was surprised to see a student doing janitor work and greeted him cheerfully. Sun Woo looked up and answered her, super chill. Yune called him Sunbae Kim Shin Wook, thinking she had his name right, but our MC just gave a weird smile and corrected her, saying he was Kim Sun Woo, not Shin Wook. She laughed it off and asked why he was cleaning. He told her the place was dirty, so he decided to clean it. Her eyes lit up, and she started praising him like he was some kind of hero, saying he had amazing morals and was such a kind person. She wished him a good day with a bright smile and walked away. As soon as she was out of sight, though, her face went totally bored, and she thought to herself that what Sun Woo was doing looked pointless on the surface. But then, boom, a system window popped up in front of Sun Woo's face, announcing he'd completed the Snail Bride achievement and gave him 1,000 points. Our MC laughed to himself, wondering how he could ever explain to anyone that he only cleaned for these weird system points. He finished up, grabbed his bucket, and left feeling pretty satisfied with himself. Right then, a random man peeked out from behind a wall, watching him with a genuine smile. After that, the story jumped to the lecture hall. The teacher was showing the class a big 3D image of some monster, going on about all the different types of monsters out there. Human, beast, flying, and a bunch more. But then he got serious and said the most dangerous type of all were the demonized. He asked the class why they were so dangerous. Like, always, Sun Woo raised his hand and answered confidently, saying it was because demonized can't be told apart from humans unless they reveal themselves or go nuts. The teacher praised him and explained that these monsters are basically pure evil, hiding in society, drinking blood, and controlling other monsters. He said you can't even detect them without special equipment. However, the easiest way to recognize them was sometimes, when they show their bloodlust, their eyes turn black. So everyone needs to be super alert every time so they won't get messed up by some demonized people. Suddenly, Sun Woo remembered the original story and realized that the demonized were supposed to show up at the end of this week. He knew it was the big event where Seo Jun would beat the enemy and get called a hero all over the news. He tried to chill, since he figured Seo Jun would handle it, but that old anxiety just wouldn't leave him alone. He kept remembering how Seo Jun died when fighting that freaky dragon and thought he'd better keep an eye out, just in case things got dangerous. But then, reality hit. If he wanted to tag along with Seo Jun on these outside missions, he needed cash. And bro, he did not have any. Later, our protagonist sat in his room, trying hard to meditate and build up his mana. There was this cool green glow all around as he worked on his breathing. Suddenly, the system popped up, telling him his mana went up by 0.02, and then gave him an extra 0.03 from his Nature's Blessing trait. Even better, the system said the trait efficiency just got a 12% boost. Sun Woo opened his eyes, feeling pretty proud. Finally, all that spare time training was paying off. He had actually collected a nice pile of mana now. He jumped up when a new window flashed in front of his face. The system told him his Nature's Blessing trait leveled up to rank 2. Not only that, but it unlocked a new power called Nature's Heart. Our MC grinned, thinking he totally made the right call buying this trait. He read the details and honestly couldn't believe it. Nature's Heart would boost his mana recovery speed by a wild 1000% for a whole minute, but only once every 24 hours. He realized this was his secret weapon for any big emergency when he desperately needed more mana. That was one lucky break, dude. Our boy stood there, soaking in the good news and feeling like he was born for this type of magic. But, of course, the good vibes didn't last. He suddenly remembered that super cringy scene when the support magic teacher grabbed his hand and begged him like a crazy fangirl to join her department. He let out a heavy sigh. Thinking about that fat scholarship she offered, it really was tempting. Still, he opened his bank account just to check, and nearly fell over when he saw he only had 30,000 won. Yep, broke as ever. Student life was brutal, bro. He started seriously brainstorming ways to make money. Maybe he could go into a dungeon and hunt down some monsters, then sell their loot for cash. But he realized that was way too risky right now. Then he thought about climbing a tower. He figured he could probably handle the easy levels no problem. But bad news, he was still a minor and didn't even have a mage license, so legally, he couldn't go there. RMC was about to give up when a genius idea hit him. Right after that, the scene cut to the teachers hanging out in the faculty room, starting to gossip about a hard-working student who was making waves lately. One teacher brought up Kim Sun-woo from second year, saying this dude came in before everyone else just to clean up the halls for free. Another teacher said Sun-woo was always paying attention and joining in during class, and that his attitude was just straight up amazing. The manifestation magic teacher laughed, calling it typical for their department, and even joked about how the support teacher tried and failed to steal Sun-woo away. All the teachers agreed. Students like him were rare these days and, honestly, pretty refreshing. Meanwhile, our MC was chilling in the hall, laughing to himself like an evil mastermind. He just unlocked a new achievement, student beloved by teachers, and the system handed him a sweet 2,000 points. He was on top of the world. Right away, he opened up the point shop and started searching for a certain item. He found just what he wanted and spent a massive 10,000 points, basically everything he had, for one special thing. He sat there with a sneaky grin, already plotting how he was going to milk this investment for every single coin and point he could get. Fast forward to Saturday morning, and Sun-woo was standing outside some giant tower. He was in full disguise, regular clothes, sunglasses, the whole deal. He walked up to the guard, who told him to show his mage license. Sun-woo whipped out an ID card and said his name was Kim Jin-woo, a 5-year-old class mage. The guard stared at the card, then at Sun-woo, then back at the card, looking a little suspicious. Our MC's heart was pounding so loud he thought the guard might hear it, and behind those shades, his eyes were jumping all over the place. But the guard checked the data, handed the card back, and suddenly gave him a big welcome. Sun-woo was ready to pass out from relief. He thanked the guard and headed inside, wiping sweat off his forehead and thinking he dodged a bullet there. He looked at the fake ID. This was the thing he bought from the point shop a few days ago, and it wasn't just any fake. It was a magical license with special runes, so no one could ever tell it was a fake, not even with magic. That was 10,000 points well spent, if you ask me. He also put on some magic glasses that changed his eye color and face, making sure nobody could recognize him. With his cover looking perfect, our hero strutted toward his destination, checking his schedule and planning the day. The plan was simple: finish his tower business fast, then rush over to the Han River to catch Lee So-jun's big fight with the demonized human. He then strolled through the giant gates of the Tower of Proof. The system popped up to welcome him, calling him by the fake name like everything was totally legit. He walked to the magical teleport area, and a window asked which floor he wanted. The highest option for his rank was the 27th floor, but our MC coolly picked the 10th floor instead. The system dropped a warning that this floor had been cleared before and rewards would be weak for a repeat, but our hero just grinned. He didn't care about ordinary rewards, he had way bigger plans. In a flash of light, he teleported up and arrived at the 10th floor. Now, this place looked easy, but trust me, it was way more cursed than it seemed. Apparently, in the original novel, a bunch of guilds skipped this floor because of all the dumb traps and complicated magic. The monsters? Not even that strong. Sun-woo took a few steps, and right away, this giant three-eyed monster came charging out of the shadows. The thing barely had time to roar before our MC blasted it with one magic shot, dropping it dead instantly. The system rewarded him with a first hunt achievement and tossed him 1,000 points. Easy cash. The guy looked around, grinning. He got why nobody liked this place. The real threat wasn't the monsters, but all the crazy traps and magic all over the place. Good thing that's exactly what he was built for, right? He checked his watch and figured he had plenty of time to finish up before his next big event. Meanwhile, over at the Han River, things were getting crowded. People were everywhere, even though there was no festival going on. Youngjun and Seo-jun were there in the middle of it all. Youngjun wanted to take a selfie to remember the day. Seo-jun looked all awkward, but his buddy just dragged him into the photo anyway, snapping a fun shot of the two of them. A little break before things got real. Back inside the tower, our MC was handling things like a boss. He smoked another monster, which dropped a shiny red magic gem. He picked it up, whistling at his luck and thinking at least this would cover his travel money. Then he stopped at a totally normal-looking wall, except, nothing in a tower is ever that simple. He pressed his hand on a certain spot, and boom. The wall flashed with light. The system cheered that he'd unlocked Barrier Breaking Expert and gave him another 2,000 points. A secret door opened up, and he stepped through into a hidden part of the tower called the Fantasy World. Instantly, the mana in the air felt way thicker, buzzing with mystery. Right after that, the system flexed again. He just unlocked Secret Explorer for finding a hidden floor, and this time they handed him a fat 5,000 points. Our MC was just standing there, grinning from ear to ear, thinking he finally found what he was after. Standing in the middle of a massive secret hall, he got ready to claim his big prize. Suddenly, a huge statue stared down at him and started booming out a challenge, asking if he was really good enough to prove himself among the tower climbers. Before he could even answer, a blinding light flashed and sucked him into a totally different scene. A beautiful garden full of flower fairies, all giggling and fluttering around like something out of a kid's storybook. But our MC wasn't fooled. He instantly remembered these cute things were actually C-rank monsters. They might look adorable, but once they saw a human, they turned into straight-up nightmares. Sure enough, they all launched at him at once. Sun Wu fired a magic beam and smacked one down, then started charging up his mana for the next blast, knowing he had to be quick or he'd be fairy food. He took out a couple more, making the rest freak out, but then he stopped attacking. Instead, he noticed a strange magic circle on the ground. Right on cue, he figured out the trick. Beating these monsters wasn't how you passed. What he needed was the one thing only he could do: crack the secret magic formulas. The dude activated his outsider benefits, and suddenly all the complicated formulas showed up in front of him like a cheat sheet. The words formed a message, basically asking him to prove he could solve them. Sun Wu grinned, already seeing the answer clear as day. He sent out a wave of magic, showing off his skills and passing the test like a true genius. The system threw him another massive reward. He unlocked Recognized by the Tower of Proof and banked a huge 10,000 points. Standing in front of the statue, our MC got hit with an S-rank trait called Tower Proof as a special blessing. And he finally scored the real treasures: a red dragon soul, a sweet magic book, and rare seeds and holy herbs. The system went nuts, announcing boosts to his magic, faster mana recovery, and stronger power. The guy was basically jumping for joy. His whole plan actually worked out perfectly. Outside, after taking the photo, Seo Jun suddenly stopped, saying there was something weird in that selfie they took. He told his friend to look closer at the background. Even though they were both smiling, there was some dude in a hat standing behind them, and his eyes looked black and seriously dangerous. Youngjun freaked out and asked if those creepy eyes could be a demonized human. Turns out, the man in the picture really was a demonized human, hiding in plain sight with those beast-like eyes. Somewhere in a dark alley, that demonized guy was stumbling around like he was in pain while the clock kept ticking closer to 9:30. Looks like the real trouble was just getting started, bro. Meanwhile, Sun Wu was still in disguise, sweating buckets while watching the street, and you could tell he was freaking out. The clock was ticking. The monster was here, but Seo Jun still hadn't shown up. Our MC kept thinking he could totally mess up the whole plot if he acted now, but if he didn't, people were going to die. Suddenly, the demonized guy came stumbling down the sidewalk, looking messed up. He bumped into some random student, and that poor kid turned around and asked if he was okay. But bro, before anyone could even blink, the monster just snapped and stabbed the student straight through the chest. Blood exploded everywhere. People started screaming while the kid hit the ground, clutching his chest and yelling in pain. Then, things got even crazier. Black smoke erupted all around the demonized man, blowing his clothes to pieces and showing off his freakishly huge muscles and wild demon energy. The monster was fully out, and everyone on the street finally realized how screwed they were. The demonized man turned to a girl nearby, and his shadow fell over her. People absolutely lost it, running and yelling for help, calling the police, anything. The whole block was in chaos. But our MC? He didn't waste a second. He ditched all that stick-to-the-script stuff and sprinted straight at the monster, thinking he had to save these people first, story or not. The look in his eyes was pure determination. Bro, he was ready to throw hands with a literal demon if that's what it took. Elsewhere, one of those Special Forces mage agents got a picture from Seo Jun and instantly knew they had a demonized human problem on their hands. He could see those black beast eyes and figured this was about to be a disaster. Youngjun confirmed the monster was close by, and the agent started running, thinking how this was the worst place for a fight. So many people around, and monsters like this only got stronger by eating blood. Right then, Seo Jun suddenly felt a wave of terrifying energy, like he knew something really bad was happening nearby. The agent felt a massive surge of mana too and ran even faster, heading straight for the chaos. Back at the scene, people were panicking, and a bunch were wondering out loud if they were even safe anymore. The demonized man stood right in front of the girl he was targeting, and she just froze, begging for her life. The monster raised his giant fist to smash her, but the girl ran away at full speed. Our hero realized the monster seriously wanted to catch her, and if he didn't stop this thing, more people would get hurt. So, he charged up his magic but knew he was way out of his league, a straight B-rank demon, bro. Charging in headfirst would just get him stomped. He decided to dump every bit of mana he had into one attack and tried to hit the monster right in its weak spot. He focused hard, aimed, and fired off a huge magic blast at the demon's head. There was a thunderous explosion, and for a second, he thought he nailed it. But then, when the smoke cleared, the monster's face was half burned but still standing. The face got burned, but the brain was definitely not. Sun Wu was screaming inside, realizing he'd just ticked off the monster without finishing the job. The demonized man roared and launched a counterattack, shooting purple energy everywhere. Sun Wu had no choice but to dodge for his life, barely keeping from getting wrecked. He smiled to himself, all bitter, knowing he had only one more trick up his sleeve. He activated his nature's heart power, and suddenly this blue light started pouring out of him. Dude's mana recovery speed just shot up by 1000% for 1 minute. This was his final boss mode. With a wild yell, Sun Wu charged up again, firing blue energy orbs as fast as he could. He told himself that if he couldn't kill this thing in 1 minute, he'd at least leave it halfway to hell. His attacks hammered the demon, blowing chunks out of it and rocking the whole street. The demonized man staggered from the blows, but Sun Wu kept it up, not letting a single second go to waste. The shot landed perfectly, and the monster howled in pain. He felt proud, thinking he might actually win if he kept this up. But just as he was getting cocky, the blue light faded away. He tried to power up again. Nothing. His mana was totally empty. 1 minute is over. Meanwhile, the demon started to recover, eyes glowing even scarier than before, and stalked towards him, ready to rip him apart. That's when the Special Forces agent burst onto the scene. In one clean move, the guy chopped off the monster's head. The demon's head hit the ground, and Sun Wu just stood there, mouth hanging open. Bro, he was not expecting backup to show up that fast. The agent walked over and announced that the danger was over. He thanked Sun Wu for his help, saying it made the job a lot easier, and then politely asked for his mage license to give him a reward. Sun Wu handed over his fake card like a pro, acting cool even though he was scared as hell that his disguise would be seen. The agent raised his eyebrows and said he thought Sun Wu would be at least rank B with skills like that, but the card said he was only rank C. Right then, Yongjun and Lee So-jun ran up, clearly shook from all the chaos. Sun Wu screamed internally, blaming Seo-jun for being late. While he was trying not to panic, So-jun kept staring at him, getting a weird look on his face. He then asked if he knew anyone named Kim Sun-woo, saying he was a student at the academy. Yongjun jumped in, saying the mage's face in front of him kind of looked like Sun-woo's, and asked if they were related. Sun Wu denied everything, acting like he'd never heard the name before in his life. The agent stepped in and told the students to quit bothering the mage and get out of the way. He thanked Sun Wu again for saving so many people. Seo-jun didn't stop staring, but Sun Wu kept his cool, telling the agent he was just doing his duty. He bowed, thanked the agent for saving his life, and dipped, trying not to let his nerves show. Bro, that was insanely close. Out of nowhere, Seo-jun turned to him and asked if he knew this Kim Sun-woo from the Magic Military Academy. Now they thought maybe Sun-woo and the mage were, like, cousins or something. But our MC just shook his head and did his best to say, nope, never heard of him. Nice try, Seo-jun. Before things got even weirder, the agent stepped in and told Seo-jun to cut it out with the rude questions and move along. He then thanked Sun-woo for the help earlier. Poor Seo-jun just walked away, looking kind of confused about everything. Honestly, our hero almost got caught there. Heart attack moment, bro. While the agent was chatting with him about how reporters and more agents were on the way to deal with the mess, Sun Wu's system popped up with a big announcement. It told him he participated in beating the B-rank villain Zhang Han, which totally surprised him. Like, he really got credit for that? The system wasn't done though. Next, a warning appeared saying the original story had changed a little bit, and they tossed him a reward of 5,300 points. Now our boy started getting nervous. Had he messed with the story too much already? Bro, this is getting risky. Just as he was thinking that, the system dropped another bomb. His causality score just went up by 0.2 points. Sun Wu stared at the explanation, amazed. Apparently, causality points popped up when you affected main story events, and the bigger the change, the more points you got. You could even spend them to activate special powers called authority. He wondered if this meant that maybe, just maybe, he could actually save Lee Seo-jun this time. Then he checked the list and saw that if he hit 100 causality points, he could unlock something called Deus Ex Machina, ability to do literally anything he wanted. Our protagonist just stood there, stunned, reading about this Deus Ex Machina thing. Could this be his ticket back to his own world? Was this the secret key he'd been searching for? He realized he had to decide fast. No more being passive. He needed to protect Seo-jun and earn those causality points, no matter what. He made up his mind right there. He was going to take charge and change fate himself. Suddenly, a banking notification dinged. Bro, it was a 15 million won reward for beating the demon. The money already hit his account. Now that's some fast service. Sunwoo looked at his new spear and thought, after a day this crazy, he deserved a good rest, and not some noisy dorm bed. His eyes locked onto the Hanung Hotel. Super fancy, only top-tier mages got to stay there. He strolled through the shiny lobby, thinking about how the Hanung group was loaded and super important in the story. The hotel staff bowed and treated a VIP guest with big respect at the entrance. Meanwhile, Han Se-jin, the vice president and next in line to run Hanung Group, showed up. His assistant told him that his little sister wanted to join him at dinner, which was pretty surprising. Se-jin thought about his sister, Han Se-yoon, who he hadn't seen in ages, and decided to let her come. At the same time, Sunwoo remembered Han Se-yoon was a character from the novel too. Up in his luxurious room, our boy checked out his loot. He figured he'd sell the spear since it was too flashy and not really his style. But he'd keep the reinforcement scroll for later. As for the holy herb seeds and those 5 herbs, he planned to sell them straight to Han Se-yoon herself. For now, all he could do was get some sleep and wait for tomorrow. Next morning, the news was going wild. Every channel reported about a new star who cleared the hidden floor in the Tower of Proof and then, right after, took down a demon at Han River Park. The Mage Association praised the hero, Kim Jin-woo, which was our MC's fake name, and said they might even bump up his rank. People on the street couldn't stop talking about how he fought the demon alone. Dang, our boy was suddenly famous. Then came another shower of notifications. The system hit him with the Little Hero achievement, told him that 2 million people were grateful for his courage, and that a bunch of characters were now super curious about him. All that hype scored him a whopping 21,000 points in one go. Dude, that was insane. So, not wasting any time, he decided to take advantage of his brand new fame. He marched right into Hanung Pharmaceuticals to see Han Se-yoon, thinking now was the perfect time since his identity was kind of verified by the public. Walking inside, our MC got hit with stares from the female employees. They recognized his face from the news and started whispering about how good-looking he was. Sunwoo had to admit, it felt pretty sweet to be famous. But then, he nearly had a heart attack. Standing right in front of him was Jang Soo-ji, the S-class mage known as the Sword of the Hanung family. The receptionist looked at him, and asking if he was the man from the news. Sunwoo smiled and introduced himself as Kim Jin-woo, and said he wanted to sell some rare medicinal herbs from the tower, asking if the director could check them out personally. Inside, Han Se-yoon, the youngest daughter of the group, was holding the bundle of herbs. She looked at him, kind of impressed that the hero of the day came to visit, but honestly, she was way more interested in the herbs. She noticed something weird. The herb didn't have regular mana roots, but it was bursting with strong energy. She turned serious and told him it would be tough to process, but clearly, this was a special herb. But she wanted to know how he discovered what it could do. Our protagonist didn't even flinch. He said he'd studied medicine for a long time. In his mind, he was thinking, bro, this isn't just a normal plant, this is some next-level stuff. He explained that this holy herb could massively boost the power of other ingredients, but if you tried to use it alone, it did nothing. The real problem, he added, was that no one alive right now knew how to process it correctly, because the method was super tricky and complicated. So, the smartest thing would be to let a genius pharmacist like Se-yoon to handle it. Then she cut straight to the point and asked if he had any special conditions for selling. Our boy didn't waste time. He held up all 5 fingers saying he wanted 500 million. One up front, yeah bro, $500 million. And, on top of that, a 0.005% share in Hanung Pharmaceuticals. Se-yoon looked at him like he was nuts, then laughed. She told him that 0.005% might look tiny, but clearly, he had no idea how massive her family's company was or how much money that slice could actually be worth. But Sunwoo just stayed chill and told her that shares were way better than cash. He said once they put that holy herb on the market, Hanung could totally take over the entire pharmaceutical game, so the shares would be worth even more. Se-yoon shut him down right then. She said there was no way she was giving away any company shares and told him to ask for something else, because that was a hard limit. Our MC just smiled like he expected that and switched gears. He said he wanted VIP access to the company's secret underground auction and also wanted Hanung to make potions and find rare items for him. He added that he would pay for all of that, so they wouldn't lose money. But then, out of nowhere, he tossed in another demand. He wanted Se-yoon herself to be his special messenger and help him handle missions. If she agreed, he promised to share a secret about her brother, Han Se-jin, a weakness that could change everything. Her eyes got huge. She was clearly shocked and, honestly, a little scared at how bold and dangerous this deal suddenly was. He looked her right in the eye and called out her true goal, saying he knew she wanted to control the whole Hanung group. He warned her if she ignored this chance, her family could get ripped apart in the future. so she better listen up. While all this was going down, the TV news in the background finished a report, calling Mage Kim Jin-woo a hero. But somewhere dark and creepy, Baek Gang, another demon, was losing it over the death of his comrade. He slammed his fist on a table and yelled that, of course they could have saved their guy. His buddy tried to calm him down and reminded him that the order to stay out of it came from some higher up, so they couldn't risk their cover just to help someone who went wild in public. Baek Gang was not having it. He screamed, asking how much longer they would all hide in the shadows like scared rats. Then his eyes started glowing with crazy revenge energy, and he promised he'd kill that Kim Jin-woo himself, no matter what. His friend warned him that Jin-woo was getting close with their top client, but Baek Gang just laughed, saying he probably didn't know how dangerous that client really was. Later that evening, Se-yoon went to the company headquarters, and guess who was waiting? Her brother Se-jin, the guy everyone thought was a total monster behind that nice-looking smile. He greeted her with his fake, warm smile, and she joked about how long it had been since they met. The two of them got into his car, and Se-jin asked if the job was going okay. Se-yoon just sighed and said work was hard, but dealing with people was what really drained her. Se-jin jumped on that right away. He hinted that their father had given Se-yoon her company shares too soon, since she seemed so tired. Then, acting all sweet but really being a snake, he whispered that if the shares were too heavy for her, she could just give them to him. He even promised to make her vice president once he took over as boss. That move made Se-yoon grip her phone so hard you'd think it might crack. In her head, she was telling him not to mess with her. Meanwhile, our protagonist got a text from Han Se-yoon saying she accepted his conditions. Sun-woo grinned, thinking it was super smart to use two different identities so no one could connect the dots. He told himself that meeting Se-yoon was 100% the right move, especially since she'd also bought the spear from him. He remembered how clever Se-yoon was. She checked out the secret he gave her about her brother and realized it was legit, which meant she wasn't easy to fool. Then his phone buzzed again. Another message from Se-yoon popped up, saying she'd be his messenger for 1 month only, and that she'd send the payment plus the money for the spear that day. She wanted to know if he needed anything else. Our MC didn't hesitate. He asked her to make some special potions for him and to get him a ticket into the secret underground arena. She said yes to the potions, but explained she'd need a little time for the ticket. She promised to let him know when everything was ready. Anyway, Sun-woo suddenly remembered how demons will cause another trouble for him. In the original story, after the demon-bound route, another demon would do a revenge arc for the main character. And because he's the one who killed that demon, he would be the next target. He started planning his next move and used his system to search for new abilities. A bunch of cool traits popped up, things like killing intent detection, sixth sense, and even God's Eye. He decided to grab the A-rank killing intent detection skill, which would let him sense anyone wanting to kill him from 500 meters away. The price? A whopping 50,000 points. But our boy figured it was worth it, because staying alive was priority number 1. A few days later, Sun-woo, still in deep disguise, met up with Se-yoon again. She handed him the potions he ordered, including a B-rank amplified mana elixir that would skyrocket his mana recovery for 5 minutes but leave him totally drained afterward. She looked at him kind of sideways, wondering why a big-shot mage like him needed a potion like that. She also got curious and asked how he knew so much about her and her brother. Sun-woo played it cool and said he had his own sources to check out her brother's weakness. She got serious and admitted the info really shocked her. She thought about her brother, Han Se-jin, and realized he always had a dark side, but she never guessed he could turn into a killer, and probably had been talking to someone who was probably a demon. So she asked Sun-woo, totally amazed, how he even knew something that deep. Our boy thought that, well, it was because he had read the original novel. He remembered Se-jin turning into a villain after teaming up with a demon. And then Sun-woo even offered to spill more secrets, but only if Se-yoon gave him 5% of her family's company shares. She was not having any of that, and straight up told him to cut the games. Not bothered at all, Sun-woo switched topics and asked about the arena ticket. She let him know she had the ticket, but there was a catch. It couldn't be transferred, so he had to enter with her. Then she asked what he was planning to do with all the cash she sent. Sun-woo just said he wanted to multiply it, like it was no big deal. Se-yoon totally freaked and yelled at him, thinking he was planning to gamble all the money away. Our protagonist didn't deny it one bit, which made Se-yoon call him crazy and warn him that their deal would be finished after this month. Right then, the system threw a notification at our MC. Han Se-yoon's interest in him dropped like a rock, and she was deeply disappointed. But honestly, our protagonist didn't care at all. He just grinned and used his rabbit mask, thinking that once they finished this arena trip, he'd make her trust him way more than before. Inside the secret underground arena, a staff member welcomed him as a VIP. But after entering the place, a voice suddenly welcomed him, saying, "It's been a long time since a VIP has come." Looking at the man in front of him, Sun-woo already knew exactly who this guy was. the real boss of the place. The dude walked up, wearing a creepy red demon mask known as Haryong. Everyone in the underworld knew this guy was an S-class demon villain and the actual boss here. Sun Woo gave him a polite bow and acted all respectful, but inside, he was warning himself to never mess with Haryong. Haryong only smiled in his evil way and wished them a good time, then left the spot. Sun Woo kept his cool, reminding himself not to get tangled up with a guy like that. Right after, Se-yoon walked next to him through the wild crowd, looking around at the insane energy in the arena. Sun Woo pointed out that everybody was so pumped for a reason because the famous fighter Yang Hongju was here. Se-yoon didn't know who that was, so he explained that Yang Hongju was the #1 fighter at the moment, a mage who had won the championship 3 years in a row and was basically as dangerous as any rank A monster. Se-yoon got smart and suggested they just bet on him if he always won, figuring it was an easy win. But our MC shook his head and explained that if everyone bet on the champ, the prize money would be way too small. Hearing that, she stared at him like he was nuts. But Sun Woo said that if they wanted to get rich, they had to do the opposite of what everyone else did. So, our boy walked straight to the betting counter and asked to put a crazy 530 million won on the champion's opponent. That move left Se-yoon totally shocked. She could barely talk. Even the betting worker froze like, is this guy serious? She finally managed to ask if he was really doing this and who the hell the opponent was anyway. Our boy just smiled that he was betting on a rookie in his debut match. Bro, he was just going full wild card. Meanwhile, the guy at the counter ran to tell Haryong that some lunatic in a rabbit mask just bet over 500 million won on a random rookie. Haryong remembered him as that VIP and just laughed to himself, thinking maybe this dude was just a bored rich guy with bad taste. Somewhere else, Baek Gang got all hyped when his buddy came running in, saying Kim Jin-woo's name showed up at the arena and that he was with Se-yoon. Baek Gang grinned like a psycho, super happy to finally find his target, and ordered his crew to get the car ready. He promised he'd get revenge for Jang Han that very night. Back in the arena, the crowd watched as the first fight ended in a total beatdown. One warrior just wiped the floor with the other guy, and the loser had to surrender hard. The crowd went wild. But not in a good way. They started booing and yelling, calling the loser a cheater and shouting for him to just die already. Se-yoon was honestly freaked out by how brutal everything was, and she whispered that this place was no joke. Still, she knew the bosses would never let anyone actually get killed in there, at least not in the ring. Finally, the big match everyone was waiting for got announced. The rookie Liang versus the champ Yang Hongju. The bets were insane. Almost 3 billion. One on the champion, but a massive 530 million on the random rookie. The announcer made sure everyone knew just how crazy this was, pointing out the huge bet on the unknown guy. Our protagonist stood there smiling, knowing he was the only person in the whole place who was playing the real game. The crowd started mocking him, saying he was just some idiot who would lose everything. But Sun Woo just ignored them, cool as ever, already planning how he'd turn that one crazy bet into 6 times the cash if things went the way he remembered. Dude was here to win, not to play it safe. Now, finally, the two fighters came into the ring. One was Yang Hongju, the big, scary champ with a body that looked like he ate dumbbells for breakfast, and the other was tiny Liang, who barely looked old enough for high school. Se-yoon stared at the two of them, freaked out by how small Liang looked next to King Kong over there. Our boy Sun Woo tried to make a stupid little joke that maybe Liang just hadn't hit his growth spurt yet, but even he was sweating a bit. And yeah, sure, he was here for the money, but that wasn't the whole story. The real motive? He wanted to see for himself if Liang was really going to end up with the Ja-eun villain group, just like it said in the original novel. Some random in the crowd wondered who the hell put all that cash on that skinny Liang. But Sun Woo told himself not to worry. This was exactly how things went in the book. He trusted that Liang had never, ever lost in this secret arena. That was the one thing he could count on, or so he thought. But why the fuck this guy's is so skinny? Meanwhile, Yang Hongju looked at Liang like he was a fly on his food, totally not worth his time. Suddenly, sparks of electricity flew off his body, and this champ launched himself across the ring, basically ready to end things in 2 seconds. Liang dodged, but barely. Then, bam. Yang Hongju smashed him with a punch that sent the little guy flying. The crowd gasped, thinking that was it for Liang. Sun Woo started to get nervous, like, was this scrawny rookie even going to make it? That was not what he signed up for. And while all that was happening, Baek Gang, the local psycho, pulled up outside in a luxury car, eyes burning with revenge. He wanted to storm in and go full murder mode, but he had enough brains to remember that Haryong, the boss, would totally destroy him if he messed up the event. So he asked his driver when the event ended, and when he heard it would finish at 10:30, he got all excited, thinking that would be the perfect time to kill Kim Jin-woo. Yeah, our MC had some real fans, huh? Back in the ring, things got even crazier. Yang Hongju was going full beast mode, throwing out attacks like a maniac and screaming at the enemy to get lost. He landed a giant kick that smashed Liang Liang into the wall. Hard. The crowd lost their minds, cheering for the champ to finish things. Our boy Sun Wu, behind his mask, was honestly starting to panic. For real, he began to wonder if the story he remembered was actually wrong, because this was not looking good. Yang Hongju stood there, smiling like he already won, while everyone started whispering about whether the rookie was done for. But then bro, this was insane. A dagger suddenly stabbed right through Yang Hongju's body, blood sprayed everywhere. The champ looked down, totally shocked, and Liang Liang was still standing, breathing heavy but alive. Yang Hongju tried to curse him out and attack again, but Liang Liang was way too fast. He dodged and unleashed a storm of dark daggers, hitting him over and over. The champ crashed to the ground, totally done for. Liang Liang just stood over him, looked shocked himself, staring down at his defeated opponent. The whole arena went dead silent. Everyone started whispering about how much money they had just lost betting on the champ. Se-Yun was sitting there, barely able to believe it, mumbling to herself that Yang Hongju really lost. But the quiet didn't last long. Suddenly the crowd went nuts, screaming and cursing at Yang Hongju, calling him trash and a coward. Tough world. Huh. Sun Wu finally let himself relax, thinking his work here was done and he could get out. Se-Yun told him to wait for her so they could leave together, but our MC was already ready to take off. Up in his private box, Haryong watched the whole thing and said that this was way too suspicious for a coincidence. He told his assistant to find out who won all that money, since that bet on Liang Liang was not normal. After all that craziness, Sun Wu and Se-Yun got in the car to leave. She could not hold it in anymore and started grilling our protagonist, demanding to know who he really was and how he guessed that skinny Liang Liang would win. Sun Wu just gave her that annoying, mysterious smile and said he just had a feeling, which made her want to throw him out of the car. Our boy checked his phone and saw his bank account. When he saw he now had over 3 billion won in there, he almost lost it. He was buzzing with excitement. The system hit him with a bunch of notifications. Han Se-Yun now trusted him a whole lot more. She was super curious about him, and he unlocked the Unrivaled Gambler achievement. He even got a fat 7,000-point bonus. Our MC grinned, thinking this was enough to make him happy again after he bought that fucking pricey killing intent detection skill. But just as he was feeling on top of the world, he suddenly got a bad feeling. His new killing intent skill got activated, and somebody was out there trying to kill him. So he looked back and saw a car speeding up behind them, packed with a killer vibe. He had a hunch where this was coming from. In the original novel, there was a random demon trying to get revenge for Zhang Han. Se-Yun noticed he looked weird and started asking what was wrong. But Sun Wu just watched the chasing car, then turned to her all serious and asked for a big favor. Just then, their car swerved, switching up their route and catching the bad guys off guard. The guys chasing them had to slam on the brakes and tell their boss, Bake Gang, about the change. It looked like their target was stopping the car in the park. Bake Gang lost it, ordering his men to stop and promising himself he would kill Sun Wu right there. But after coming to the park, he noticed Se-Yun was nowhere to be seen, and started doubting if this weak-looking kid could really be the guy who took out Zhang Han, since the MC's body didn't look trained at all. Anyway, Sun Wu was chugging down the potion, making a face like he just drank sewer water. He wiped his mouth and started complaining that whoever made this stuff should probably be arrested for crimes against taste buds. But he didn't have time to be picky. He shouted out loud, telling his stalker to come out and quit playing games. While he was doing that, the system window popped up with the usual info dump. The drink was called an Amplified Mana Elixir, rank B. Basically, it would make his mana come back super fast, like 500% faster for 10 minutes. But then he'd feel dead tired afterward. Suddenly, our boy started glowing blue like some kind of magic LED, and he announced he knew he'd been watched for a while. In the shadows, Bake Gang was lurking, not even trying to hide his bloodlust. The dude was kind of impressed that Sun Wu had noticed the tail, but he still didn't think much of him. He stepped out from the trees, tossing out some weak praise, then started showing off with burning fire spears swirling around him, ready to attack. Without even waiting for a handshake, he let out a wild scream and launched a whole rainstorm of fire, basically telling Sun Wu to die already. But our MC was not about to get fried tonight. He pulled mana into his hand and blocked the attack like it was just another Tuesday. Bake Gang just smirked, thinking he still had a couple tricks left, while the whole area turned into a fireworks show. Flames exploded everywhere, and honestly, it was getting a little intense. But wait, let's rewind, because inside the car right before this, Sun Wu was acting all nervous while watching behind them. He told Se-Yun that someone was tailing them, which totally freaked her out. She stared as he pulled out that nasty bottle, asking if their pursuer was from a rival company or something. Sun Wu laughed it off, saying it was kind of like that, but not really. Then he told her to drive somewhere empty, because he wanted to catch this guy. Se-Yun got worried, asking if he could actually win a fight like this. The poor guy admitted it wouldn't be easy, and even warned her that their opponent's mana was way above rank B. But with a confident grin, Sunwoo said he could handle it and asked for her help. After dropping him in the park, she hit the brakes and told him she'd trust his skills. Now, back to the fight. Sunwoo jumped and dodged fire spears like he was playing a video game on cheat mode. He told himself dodging was a piece of cake, especially after all the training he did as a first-year reinforcement mage. Baekgang just stood there, mocking him for running away, and decided to go bigger. He exploded into a full-on storm of fire spears, asking how Sunwoo would survive this round. But here's where it got wild. Our hero moved so fast, it was like he broke physics. He dodged every single blow, and Baekgang's face dropped when he realized Sunwoo was getting faster by the second. Less than 2 minutes left on that mana drink, so he had to wrap this up. He popped his nature's heart trait, and boom, the system told him his mana recovery just went up by 1000% for the next minute. Bro, talk about overpowered. Baekgang looked like he'd seen a ghost when Sunwoo's energy spiked again. In a flash, Sunwoo shot forward, leaving a blue trail behind him, and Baekgang started panicking for real. He scrambled to build up a wall of fire spears, getting ready to block whatever was coming. But Sunwoo just weaved through everything, totally unfazed. Baekgang was getting desperate, trying to torch him with everything he had, but our MC gathered all his blue magic in one hand and decided to go full send. He got up close, grabbed Baekgang by the neck, and yelled that this was the end. The demon only screamed in shock and pain as Sunwoo dumped all his magic energy into the guy with one big burst. It was a total flex. But then our hero stepped back, out of breath and staring like, what the hell? Why isn't this dude down yet? The system said the potion and skill effect had ended, but Baekgang was still standing, barely, and pulled together his last bit of power. He built up one final fire spear, eyes burning with pure hate, and charged at Sunwoo, screaming that he would kill him. That's when the sky itself split open. A giant blue sword of light crashed down from above, slicing right through him like he was made of butter. That was it. One hit, and Baekgang was toast, dead on the spot. Sunwoo almost collapsed, but managed to breathe out in relief, muttering that it was about time backup showed up. He looked up and saw this old guy with crazy presence holding a huge sword. It was Jang-Soo-ji, the sword demon and an S-class mage, one of the big dogs from the original novel. The dude didn't even look impressed. He just stood over Baekgang's body like it was another day at work. Sunwoo remembered that this guy was one of the strongest around, and he just soloed a rank A psycho in one blow. That's scary. Jang-Soo-ji spoke, clearly pissed off, asking how some lowly demon even thought about touching the youngest daughter of the Hanung family. Cold as ice. Bro. Right then, Seyun ran up, yelling Jinwoo's name and freaking out. She checked if he was okay, and our MC told her he was fine, pointing out that the whole plan was really just to buy time until help arrived. Not the worst strategy, huh? She smiled, and basically told him that her life had been on the line too, so she had every right to call in the strongest people around. While everyone was standing around, a flashy system windows popped up in front of Sunwoo. It announced the death of B-rank villain Baekgang, warned him that the story had changed a little, and said causality went up by 0.6. Oh, and Han Se-yoon's trust got restored, plus he scored a fat 1,000-point reward. You should have seen his face. The dude looked like he just hit the jackpot, staring at those points like they were gold. Jang-Soo-ji turned to Seyun and asked if maybe the chairman should hear about this whole demon thing. Seyun suddenly remembered how serious the whole situation was. A demon attack wasn't just some random street fight, it was a big deal. But Sunwoo jumped in, asking her not to report it. He explained if word got out that a member of the Hanung group was attacked by a demon, it would cause a total meltdown that nobody needed. He was super serious, thinking to himself there was no reason to break the story more than he already had. Seyun quickly agreed, saying she knew things would get way too complicated and annoying if this blew up. She turned to the sword demon and asked if he'd keep the whole thing just between them. Jang-Soo-ji nodded and agreed right away. This old dude was all about loyalty. 3 days later, our protagonist was stretched out in his room, thinking about everything that went down. He remembered how Seyun offered him any info he wanted as a reward for saving her during the Baekgang mess. Our MC went straight for the kill and asked about the release schedule for the Holy Herb Potion. This was no regular potion. It boosted the effects of medicine, and Hanung Pharmaceuticals was about to make money. Seyun, the genius director herself, had already set this up, and everybody knew the company's shares were about to skyrocket. Now, Sunwoo was glued to his phone, eyes locked in, because he'd already bet every last penny on Hanung stocks. The clock showed 8:59, just 1 minute until the market opened. The second it hit 9, the stocks went wild. Up, up, up. Our boy screamed like he'd just won the lottery, watching his profits double almost instantly. He remembered how, in his last life, he couldn't even buy a small house no matter how many dungeons he cleared or monsters he killed. Now he was making millions just by sitting at home. He couldn't decide if this was epic Or just a sick joke? Easy money never felt so weird. Right then his phone buzzed. It was Se-yoon, inviting him to lunch and promising a gift. Yeah, a real gift, not just more info. Sun-woo was curious, maybe even a bit suspicious. Next day, he went to the cafe and found Se-yoon already there, saying she was just early out of habit. She jumped right in to talk about the stock market, grinning over the profits. She guessed he made 50 million won, but Sun-woo dropped the bomb. He'd made 3 billion in one day. She just smiled weirdly, acting like that was nothing, and called it a tiny thank you for saving her. Sun-woo thanked her, but let's be real, he wanted to know what the actual gift was. So she placed a photo on the table, explaining she'd figured out who the demon attacker was last time. She told him his name was Baek Gang, a hitman who pretended to be human. Then she dropped a big reveal. Her investigation found out someone who worked with this killer a lot, and that person was her own brother, Han Se-jin. Our MC was thinking hard now. He'd known Han Se-jin was in deep with some shady stuff, but he never expected Baek Gang to be connected. Trying to play it cool, he said the info was interesting, but it didn't really count as a gift. Se-yoon called him calculating for someone who just saved her life, then handed him a small box. She said this was the real gift, and she hoped they could keep working together in the future. Sun-woo's radar went off. Was something wrong? She said she'd be busy soon, then she stood up and made it super clear. Since her brother was tied to Baek Gang, she knew exactly who tried to have her killed. She looked at Sun-woo, sharp as a knife, and said she never let debts slide, not the good kind or the bad kind. Dude, that was intense. He watched her leave, thinking to himself that she was totally wrong about her brother. Han Se-jin actually didn't send Baek Gang after her. But he just shrugged it off. Han Se-jin was still a villain, and sooner or later, he'd be a roadblock for Se-yoon. Our boy decided maybe using her to trap Han Se-jin wasn't such a bad plan after all. Ruthless, but hey, that's survival. Se-yoon suddenly interrupted his thoughts, calling him Mr. Kim Jin-woo. He snapped out of it, and she was only hoping he would like the gift. Sun-woo thanked her, all polite, then opened it up to find a shiny silver bracelet. A system window told him it was a mana alloy bracelet, rank B, super tough, loaded with mana, and even had SS durability. His eyes lit up. This was just what he needed. But then, something wild happened. Another system window popped up, saying that someone named Haryong was now curious about him. Boom! 1,500 more points. Even Sun-woo couldn't believe this was luck or a bad omen. Meanwhile, the scene shifted to a dark, fancy office where Haryong was sitting with some papers. Another man walked in, wearing a long coat and bowing like he was meeting the boss. Haryong asked if this was about the 10 Demonic Council, but the new guy, Chon-hae, said he wanted to ask about something else first. He brought up the recent deaths of his friend Jang Han and Baek Gang, guessing Haryong already knew what was up. Cheon-hae pulled out a photo of Kim Jin-woo and pointed out that this mage had been involved in both crazy incidents and said Baek Gang's investigation showed this same guy visited the secret Coliseum arena not long ago. Then, he asked if Haryong recognized the name Kim Jin-woo. Just to make things more interesting, he put down another photo, this one showing Sun-woo in his rabbit mask. Turns out, Haryong already knew he was the VIP who had bet on Liang Liang at the arena before. So Cheon-hae asked him to give up info about Jin-woo. He said he wanted to use Jin-woo's blood as a tribute for his dead friends. But man, he totally misread the room. Suddenly, this insane, creepy aura blasted out from Haryong, like the whole place filled with fear and darkness. The pressure was so strong that Cheon-hae just dropped to his knees. Haryong's eyes started glowing red, and he hit him with a warning. If he even thought about hurting his client, he should get ready for some serious pain. Cheon-hae started shaking like a leaf, stuttering that he swore he wouldn't lay a finger on Kim Jin-woo, begging for his life. When Haryong saw the dude was about to wet himself, he finally calmed down a bit and told him to just spit out the message from the 10 Demonic Council. Cheon-hae was still sweating bullets, but he started reciting it. Apparently, there was a new prophecy from the prophet's altar. It said that a kid with the fate of destroying all demons was going to wake up their powers in their 18th year, and the Demon King's days were numbered. This kid was going to end him soon. Haryong rolled his eyes and grumbled that the king was freaking out again, all because of this so-called child of prophecy. He asked if there was anything else. Cheon-hae, still trembling, said yeah, they just found out where the child was, right at the Magic Academy, and turning 18 this year. Meanwhile, now Sun-woo was chilling in his room, playing around with that shiny mana bracelet and a magic scroll, thinking hard about his next move. The system popped up again, reminding him that Haryong was curious about him. But our MC didn't care. He decided it was way too risky to get involved with Haryong just yet. So, he focused on what really mattered. He checked out the magic scroll in his hand. It was a rank B spell shield scroll. Pretty good stuff. This thing could block a huge spell once, but needed 12 hours to recharge after that. Sun-woo knew it was a clutch item, especially with what was coming up soon. See? The midterm exams were right around the corner, and everybody knew things got wild during exam season at the academy. These exams weren't just for grades and bragging rights either. They were a huge deal. Big shots would be watching, and everyone had to put on their best show. For someone like Seo Jun, the real hero, this was the start of his big future. But our boy Sunwoo knew the real reason these exams mattered. This was the part of the story where the child of prophecy finally popped up. This kid was born to wipe out demons, and was supposed to become Seo Jun's partner down the road. But here's the messed up part. The demons weren't about to just sit back and watch. They'd be hunting for this child before the big awakening, and the baddest demoness in the game was going to lead the charge. Sunwoo remembered that, in the original story, the demon invasion hit the school at exactly 4 p.m. Total chaos. Lee So-jun was supposed to save the day, and everything would go back to normal. But our MC had a feeling that this so-called small chapter was actually a landmine full of secrets. And he decided there was no way he was just going to watch something happen to So-jun. He also had to keep his eyes on the child of prophecy too. Out on the training grounds, the instructor called everybody together. He said something about next week's schedule but also had a big announcement. The students immediately started whining, saying they needed a break because exams were killing them. Some joker even told the teacher to talk about his first love story instead. The teacher just laughed it off, saying fighting was the best kind of training and training was just like real combat. He then dropped the news. To get ready for midterms, all second-year students had to join free sparring sessions for the next few days. You could pick a partner, or just practice solo if you wanted. Immediately, Lee So-jun's eyes lit up with that classic "I'm going to win" energy, and Yuara gave him this fire-breathing glare right back. Sunwoo felt relieved, thinking those two would team up like usual, so he wouldn't have to make the first move. But when he checked again, he saw everyone was pairing off, and, wow, our boy was just standing there in the middle like a lonely puppy. Nobody wanted to team up with the kid at the bottom of the rankings, which, let's be real, made perfect sense. No one wanted to get dragged down by the guy everyone thought was hopeless. Sunwoo didn't mind though. He already knew who he was planning to pick as his partner, and none of this bothered him. Just then, a fight broke out. Seo Jun took a nasty hit that made him stumble, but he wiped his face and grinned, saying it was a close one. He almost bit the dust. On the other side, Yuara was straight up scary, flames swirling around her, and she shot back, wanting to know if that was all he had. She announced that from now on, first place belonged to her. Seo Jun smirked and warned her to slow down, his energy starting to glow for a comeback. The two crashed into each other in a wild explosion of light and power, with Seo Jun yelling that he wasn't even warmed up yet. Meanwhile, Ha-young was watching them from a balcony, totally shocked. She couldn't believe she was seeing the top two students going at it for real. The fight was insane, magic flying everywhere, and Ha-young looked down at her own hand, which was barely cold. She told herself not to get distracted, but inside, she was feeling pretty down. She remembered how some students suggested picking her as a partner, but they all agreed she was a waste of time because, while she was smart about magic, she just couldn't pull it off in practice. So there she was, alone, looking pretty sad, and even the teachers were feeling bad for her, saying it was rough when your brains didn't match your magic skills, but at least, they said, she was a good kid. So, Ha-young gritted his lips, totally decided to try her best. Ice shards were falling from her magic try, but honestly, it looked kinda sad. Those shards just crumbled when they hit the wooden target. Nothing was working, no matter how hard she tried. She clenched her fist, biting her lip, and looked like she was screaming inside her head, asking why the hell her magic sucked so much, even when she was working her butt off. Out of nowhere, a calm voice started roasting her. He said her ice magic was weak, not cold enough, and her control was trash, straight up telling her that her basics were a disaster. Ha-young spun around, totally shocked, and saw it was none other than Kim Sunwoo, standing there with that super serious face. She called his name, still looking like she'd just seen a ghost. But our hero Sunwoo didn't stop. He kept up the tough love, telling her she was a mess and her ice was basically useless. Ha-young just stood there, face burning, because he was being brutal. But here's the twist. Sunwoo felt kinda bad deep down. He realized that, in the original story, Ha-young should have already leveled up her magic by now, thanks to Seo Jun. But because he messed with the story, she missed her chance. So, our boy decided he had to help her, even if it meant being harsh. He told her flat out that she was a wreck right now, but if she followed his lead, maybe she could finally pull her own weight in the team. Honestly, he knew this was the only way to push her. Of course, Ha-young was pissed. She pointed at him and accused him of being that kind of jerk who just tears people down because he had nothing to brag about himself. She said he couldn't even back up his trash talk. Sunwoo just smirked and shot back, asking if she really believed that, or if she was just throwing a fit because everything he said was true and she couldn't deny it. That one hit her hard. Ha-young's face twisted with pure anger, and she shoved his shoulder, saying she thought he was actually a decent guy back in the dungeon, but now she realized he was the worst. Sun Woo started to sweat a little, worried he went too far, and tried to apologize, awkwardly saying maybe he pushed too hard. But Ha Young cut him off, magic already sparking up around her. She basically told him to shut up, that she wanted to settle this with a fight right now, just to prove how lame the guy at the bottom of the class really was. Our boy Sun Woo just lit up inside. She'd taken the bait perfectly. He was grinning and told her to bring it on. So, she launched a bunch of ice shards right at him. Sun Woo dodged every one, watching them smash into the ground behind him. Ha Young got serious, her eyes glowing as she really focused. But our protagonist kept dodging and even gave her a little praise, saying her magic got way better when she actually tried. But then, classic Sun Woo, he started trash-talking again, telling her that her attack pattern was way too basic, and if she wanted to be good at ice magic, she needed to use more tricks and mix things up. Ha Young snapped back, asking if he wanted to see something new. She lifted her hands, and suddenly, this massive ice spear appeared above them. She yelled out and dropped it right on him. Sun Woo looked up, totally shocked. The giant spear smashed down, blowing up into an explosion of ice. He barely managed to jump away, landing on top of a frozen wall. Ha Young stared at her hands, looking stunned. She had just done a move she never pulled off before, no matter how much she trained. The ice wall was huge, a real sign something had changed. Sun Woo watched her from the top of the pillar and realized that provoking her was the key. She just needed someone to push her buttons to really show what she could do. He felt pretty proud of himself. But Ha Young just yelled at him from below, asking if he thought running away was a good way to win. Sun Woo, acting all cool, said it was obvious she didn't want to be his partner, and then he ran straight at her. As he rushed in, he explained that mages who use manifestation magic like her always lose when someone gets in close. He said that was their weak spot. He dashed at her lightning fast, blocking her last attempt at a spell. She panicked, tried to back up, but he was already there. Just before he could finish the fight, he stopped himself and calmly declared the match over. Ha Young just stood there, totally stunned at how fast she lost. She dropped to the ground, completely drained, and admitted that he had beaten her. After catching her breath, she looked up and said, with a real serious face, that maybe she did need to learn magic from him. Sun Woo reached out his hand and told her gently that she wasn't lacking talent, she just needed to learn how to use it right. He asked if she wanted to give it a shot and learn from him. Ha Young stared at his hand, remembering what he said about her hidden talent. Then she grabbed on tight, telling him she'd trust him just this once. Right then, the system flashed up a window, saying Ha Young's interest in Sun Woo had gone up and her favorability was now level 1. She asked him to be a good teacher, and our MC knew he'd just picked up a new student, and maybe a new friend. Not bad for the guy everyone called useless, right? So, later that day, training started, and the poor girl Ha Young probably thought it would be the usual boring stuff. But nah. Sun Woo whipped out a shiny little ice and told her they would do something called attribute adaptation training. He explained that every mage has to get used to their own magic type, and that adapting meant you needed to really understand your magic deep down, not just wave your hands and hope for the best. He got all serious, saying that without this kind of basic work, her magic would never get better, no matter how many hours she wasted. Ha Young tried to act smart and said she kinda knew about this type of training, at least in theory, but she was definitely nervous about what Sun Woo was planning. And then, boom, before she could even blink, she was trapped inside a mountain of ice right in the training hall. She started shaking from the insane cold and screamed that nobody in their right mind ever trained like this. Our MC just stood there, grinning like a villain, and said the fastest way to learn was to really feel the magic with your whole body. He laughed and told her to hurry up and get used to it before the ice melted. Man, this guy was ruthless. But while these two were messing around with magic and frostbite, things were getting creepy somewhere else. In a dark, scary place, thick with weird energy, Chonhei stood in front of a bunch of kneeling demons. He asked if everyone was there, and his followers said yeah, all the demons hanging around the academy had shown up, just like he ordered. He then laid down the plan. Next week, they would sneak into the school and look for the child of prophecy. One follower said their spy inside the school had found out security got way weaker during midterms. Another demon guy looked way too excited and said their big chance had finally come, but a woman in the group got annoyed and asked where Lord Haryong was and why he wasn't helping. Cheonhae, looking pissed, said Haryong bailed because he had some important business for their race or whatever. Not exactly a team player. One follower got super worried, saying they only had 4 B-rank demons and killing the child of prophecy was basically impossible like that. But another demon called her an idiot and said there was no way they needed help to take out one kid. She shot back that he was being cocky and said if the other guilds sent scouts, they'd be toasted. Cheonhae finally stepped in with a sneaky smile and said the plan would work if they just locked up anyone who might mess things up. Suddenly, huge purple energy swirled around, making a giant demon barrier to block out the world. Cheonhae looked proud as hell, said they would use this grand demon barrier so they could attack and destroy whatever they wanted, and reminded everyone that the main goal was to kill the child of prophecy. Back at the academy, Sunwoo kept up the ice torture with Ha Young. He told her to feel the magic first, not force it, and to really memorize what ice felt like with her whole body. He said she needed to be able to picture it perfectly, even if he wasn't there. Then, out of nowhere, Ha Young straight up made a perfect ice spear in her hand. She stared at it, looking like she just won the lottery, and screamed that she finally did it. She used manifestation magic, all on her own. Sunwoo watched her with that proud teacher smile, and told her that this insane improvement proved what he said before. She actually had real talent. The system popped up, letting Sunwoo know he just earned 1,500 points because Ha Young now trusted him. Not bad, teacher. Ha Young was bouncing, calling him Teacher Kim Sunwoo, and saying she'd listen to anything he told her from now on. But her hype crashed real quick because our MC dumped back a pile of ice. He asked in a super cold voice if she was handling it all right. Ha Young tried to play tough, asking for even more ice. But her face was bright red and she looked ready to pass out from the cold. Yeah, she was in pain, dude. Sunwoo told her to hang in there, promising that all this suffering was going to make her stronger. He watched her fight through the cold and swore to himself he'd keep pushing her until she was strong enough to help Seo Jun and his hero party. Somehow, up in the balcony, there was a student watching their training session. That student, Seo Yuna, was totally freaking out, thinking she was witnessing some next-level bullying. To her, it looked like Sunwoo had lost his mind and was torturing Ha Young with ice, and she decided that this was way too much to just ignore. She was ready to bolt and go report this to the teachers, but before she could even move, teacher Lee Hee-young appeared out of nowhere behind her, calm as ever and smiling like nothing was wrong. This teacher just looked at the scene and said that seeing talented students grow was always something beautiful. Yuna nearly exploded, pointing down and trying to explain to her teacher that this was super suspicious. But Hee-young stopped her right there and said she already knew what was going on. She said it was just attribute adaptation training. Dude, Yuna was stunned and asked if this really counted as training. The teacher nodded and said she had been watching those two since the very first day. She explained that Ha Young was amazing for pulling off mana manifestation in such a short time, but what actually blew her mind was the judgment of the student who figured out Ha Young's problem immediately and then helped her fix it. Yuna, still confused, asked if she meant Senior Kim Sunwoo is that good. The teacher acted surprised that Yuna even knew his name. Yuna tried to play it cool and said she didn't really know him, but the teacher whispered that she thought Yuna only cared about the names of the top students. The teacher then told her to memorize Sunwoo's name really well, saying that even if he was last in the school right now, he had insane potential. When Yuna pointed out that he was literally ranked last, the teacher just shrugged and said people only cared about results in the end, not how someone got there. She suggested Yuna should give Sunwoo a shot to prove what he could do. The teacher smiled and said she'd be looking forward to the midterm exams. Meanwhile, our boy Sunwoo was staring at his system screen like he was about to cry. He saw a special discount on an item called Space-Time Pocket, a magic sub-pocket that could hold up to 30 kilograms. For a guy who loved to hide his tricks and weapons, this thing was basically the holy grail. The best part? It was half off, only 20,000 points. The worst part? Our MC only had 8,500 points. So what did he do? He dropped to his knees, whining about how these discounts always showed up when he was broke. Man, that was rough. But after his little meltdown, he pulled himself together and started doing the math. He needed to find a way to make 11,500 points in the next 5 days. No excuses. Suddenly his phone buzzed, and teacher Lee Hee-young was calling him to the faculty office, like, right now. When he got there, he saw 2 other students, Yuara and Park In-hwan. The teacher welcomed them and told them they had been selected for the Manifestation System Special Class for second years, a big deal for students with serious magic potential. Sunwoo thought it was a good chance, since Sojun was in the Reinforcement System Special Class, so maybe he could hang out with the main character more. But, of course, Park In-hwan wasn't having any of it. This dude jumped up, pointed at our boy, and started yelling that it was totally unfair for a guy ranked last to join a class with someone as amazing as him, a guy who was 5th place, by the way. He even tried to get Yuara to back him up since she was ranked 2nd, but she just shrugged and told him to mind his own business. Basically, she didn't care at all, and told him people could join or not, whatever. Park In-hwan was fuming, and muttered that this was why she had 0 friends. Then the teacher turned to our hero, and asked what he thought about all this drama. Sunwoo just smiled and said if rank was the problem, he'd just get a higher rank. The teacher looked impressed and told him to prove it in the midterm exam before joining the special class. So now, the real test was coming up. Fast forward to the Coliseum arena, and Sunwoo was walking in with Ha Young. She looked freaked out, asking if he really thought getting to rank 80 or higher was even possible. Our MC was cool as ice, promising that if they stuck to his plan, it would be easy. She agreed to follow his orders. The second-year midterm was a tag team fight against a summoned monster called the Green Giant. Sunwoo told her the real trick to beating it was to hit the weak points, purple crystals hidden on its body that kept moving around. Most students just took the hits and survived for a good grade, but only true geniuses could finish off the monster completely. The match started, and Sunwoo asked Ha-young to make a path for him. So, she blasted the ground with her ice, freezing it, and he skated forward while the Green Giant charged them. Up in the stands, students started trash-talking our MC, saying he was the loser who flopped last time and would probably run out of mana again. But then the system popped up, telling Sunwoo that 254 people were watching and hoping to see him get wrecked. That gave him 1,000 points just for being the center of attention. At least his clown moments were making him rich. But then Asura benefits kicked in, and suddenly the weak points on the Giants lit up bright purple just for him. No one else could see them, but our MC had cheat codes on. He jumped into the air, his eyes blazing with magic power, and this time he wasn't planning on messing up. He unleashed a storm of magic beams, each one super fast and dead on, hitting every single weak spot while the Giants charged at him. The crowd could only watch as Sunwoo just wiped the floor with the monster. Our boy looked down at his own hand, still glowing with power, and gave himself a quiet little smile, thinking this was way easier than he expected. But of course, life never lets this guy chill. Right at that moment, his face went pale with shock when he spotted something insane in the stands. Cheonhae, the big boss demon and the one behind the upcoming attack. The guy was just sitting there in the crowd, checking his watch like he was bored. Our protagonist started sweating bullets, thinking this was supposed to happen way later. In the original story, the demons didn't attack until after exams were over, at exactly 4 p.m., with explosions and chaos everywhere. But now the villain was here early, and he had a really bad feeling that things were about to get wild. Yeah, bro, he was in big trouble now. Out of nowhere, Ha-young started yelling his name and warning him to look out. The Green Giant, who was still very much alive and super pissed, swung his giant club right at our poor guy. Sunwoo didn't even react in time, and got sent flying across the arena. Looking at how dire the situation is, Ha-young jumped into action and froze the monster's legs with a quick ice spell to slow it down. She ran straight to Sunwoo, grabbed his shoulder, and shook him like she was trying to wake the dead, yelling at him to snap out of it and focus. But the Green Giant wasn't taking any breaks either, and charged at them with the club ready for round 2. Our hero finally got his head back in the game and, without any hesitation, yelled at the monster to back off. He started gathering all his mana and fired a crazy strong magic beam straight through the giant's body. It totally blasted the monster apart. The whole place went silent for a second, and then everyone just lost their minds. The livestream chat started going crazy, with people asking if this was really the last place loser they all remembered. Some students said his combat skills were legit, while others started breaking down how he used the compressed manifestation technique and hit the weak point perfectly. So, no, this wasn't just luck. Even some strong recruiters in the stands had to admit the dude was kind of a beast, and they were impressed. The crowd in the Coliseum blew up with cheers, and even Ha-young got tons of praise for being such a strong partner in the fight. Ha-young was so hyped that she jumped on Sunwoo and hugged him tight, shouting that they did it. Suddenly, the system started spamming him with windows. Over 500 people now remembered his face, and he got a huge pile of points. Plus, important people like Kim Do-hyun noticed him, and some other kid, Park In-hwan, was feeling super salty after losing to him. But Sunwoo honestly couldn't care less about the points or the haters. For him, the big problem was something much worse. He glanced up at the big clock on the arena wall and saw it was almost noon. Then he spotted that Cheonhae was already leaving the stands. That's when it hit him. Stuff was happening way earlier than it should, and things were getting off the rails. He started stressing hard, worrying that his own choices were the reason the plot was going nuts, and that maybe, just maybe, the school wouldn't be safe this time around. The scoreboard came up, showing Lee Seo-jun and Yuara's team had barely won first place, with Sunwoo and Ha-young's team taking a super close second. Ha-young noticed Sunwoo looking pale and sweating, so she asked if he was okay or if something bad happened. Our boy pulled himself together and forced a smile, telling her he was just tired and needed to go rest in the training hall to look over some notes. Ha-young started blaming herself, thinking she had messed up during the test, but he stopped her right away and told her to have more confidence in herself. He even looked her right in the eyes and told her straight up that she was perfect today. You should have seen her face, bro. She turned bright red and just thanked him, all shy and smiling. She then told him to go get some rest and leave. As soon as she left, our MC dropped the fake smile and just stood there looking serious and super stressed about what was coming next now that the whole timeline was messed up. Sunwoo stayed in the arena, watching everything like a detective, thinking he needed to see just how much the story had changed. He figured that if things were still following the original plot, something should be happening right about now. And boom. He saw Lee So-jun in the middle of a crowd getting absolutely mobbed by guild recruiters. These people were waving business cards and making insane offers, with one rep from the Northwest Guild straight up begging for Seo-jun to join them. Another guy from Heimdall Guild swore he wasn't moving until Seo-jun agreed to sign. One girl even waved a banner saying she loved him, while another tried to bribe him with a fancy apartment and a Sigma Guild gift just for showing up. People were calling him King Seo-jun and everything. Seo-jun was trying to play nice, saying he was only 18 and too young for guilds, but nobody cared. They just kept shoving cards in his face and blocking every escape route. Then, suddenly, Sunwoo said to him that the teacher wanted to talk about his grades. The scouts all turned to check out Sunwoo, and you could hear the whispers start about how he was the last-place student, but even they had to admit that his skills were leveling up crazy fast. Seo-jun saw what Sunwoo was doing and seized the moment. He dashed through the recruiters, apologized for leaving, and told them he'd listen to their offers later, but he had to talk to a teacher now. The scouts were bummed, complaining about losing their chance, and finally decided to go check out the third-year matches instead. Over on the other side of the arena, there was some serious special forces talk happening. Jong Hyun-soo, an agent from anti-terrorism, asked his boss, Commander Kim Deok-hyun, if he thought Seo-jun was any good. The commander said his fighting wasn't bad, and Hyun-soo mentioned that Seo-jun should be strong since he's the third disciple of the most powerful mage, Chairman Kim Jin-chul. The commander said, sure. The kid had skills, but he still had no real battle experience. He was basically too green. Hyun-soo laughed, saying the commander was judging like Seo-jun was already a pro, when he was really just a student. The commander told him to keep quiet, and then asked why he followed him out here in the first place. Hyun-soo smiled and said he regretted not meeting him during the Han River demon attack. The commander just sighed, thinking about how important real experience was, and joked that if Seo-jun had fought the demon, maybe he'd have gotten that practical training he's missing. Then, the commander switched gears and asked what Hyun-soo thought about the last-place kid, Kim Sun-woo. He said Sun-woo's sense for combat was almost unbelievable for someone at the bottom of the rankings. The commander explained that the way Sun-woo targeted the weak points so fast wasn't just luck, it was real talent that usually took years of tough experience to learn. The two of them joked, laughing, because where the hell would a random 8-year-old get that kind of experience, right? Suddenly he remembered how Seo-jun said Mage Kim Jin-woo looked like Sun-woo. Still, he thought it was just insane that some 8-year-old kid could pull off the compressed manifestation technique like a total pro. Later, away from all the chaos, Seo-jun and Sun-woo found a quiet spot in the stadium to chill. Seo-jun looked super grateful and told him he would have been totally stuck if Sun-woo hadn't helped him out earlier. Then asked why he wanted to come back, to a place crowded with scouts and guild people. Our boy said it was a good idea to get an early look at the big exam they'd be taking next year. Seo-jun seemed worried the scouts would hunt them down again, but Sun-woo explained that all the recruiters had moved to the teachers' area and that they slipped in through a different entrance anyway, so they'd be safe. Thank God. Seo-jun agreed right away and suggested they just keep watching the match quietly so nobody would notice them. While they sat there, Sun-woo's brain was working overtime. He thought for sure that the timeline had gone all messed up now. He remembered that in his past life, the demon attack always started at the third-year exam, mostly because it was easy for the bad guys to team up with the insider. But now, our MC didn't know exactly when the attack would begin, so he figured he had to keep Seo-jun stuck in the exam hall so that the protagonist could hunt down Chonhae like in the story. He glanced at Seo-jun and made sure that his top priority is to make Child of Prophecy safe from another demon attacker. Then, the duel for the third years kicked off in the arena, and everyone got hyped. But out in the shadows, a disguised figure was watching the scouts head into the exam hall, and he confirmed the plan with his assistant. It was Cheonhae, and he was acting all cool and evil. He asked his helper how the rest of the scheme was going. She opened a hidden bag in the bushes and said that they had set up monster summoning circles all over the school, just as ordered. She also told him that one of their member, Jin-san, was hiding himself and blending with other humans. Hearing the plan, Chonhae was feeling pretty proud of his team, especially this follower, Yang Hyun, who apparently nailed everything perfectly. Yang Hyun tried to give all the credit back to her boss, but he just held up this weird, glowing orb and said in his evil villain voice that it was finally time to hunt down the Child of Prophecy. Suddenly, bam! A bolt of magical energy shot right through the arena floor and everybody freaked out. Student Park Min-hye immediately yelled for a surrender and dropped out, and the referee announced that Kim Chang-hun won the final match. Seo-jun got super excited, cheering and saying how awesome it was to see Kim Chang-hun show off that manifestation magic. He even praised Park Min-hye for her clean moves. The third-year exam is awesome. But our MC was not celebrating. He was scanning the crowd, feeling super tense, searching everywhere for Cheonhae but coming up with nothing. He started wondering what the hell was going on. Seo-jun noticed how on edge Sun-woo looked, and asked who he was looking for. Sun Woo wasn't about to blow his cover, so he just said he was checking for any guild scouts trying to recruit him. Seo Jun laughed and said Sun Woo was sure to get some offers soon. To be honest, he was shocked to see how fast our boy got stronger. Then asked what kind of training he did to become so powerful, clearly super curious. But right then a weird buzzing noise started up all around them, and Sun Woo's face turned pale, like he'd just seen a ghost. His eyes went wide with shock. The demon barrier is now activated. But this was totally impossible. This never happened in his last life. The timeline was changing so much this time. Anyway, the students started freaking out because a giant barrier suddenly popped up out of nowhere. They thought maybe somebody messed up big time in class or something and kept shouting that the teachers needed to fix it. Everyone was totally confused, asking if there was an accident. But outside, remember that weird bag? Yeah. It started glowing like crazy, and dark energy leaked out everywhere. Ominous black portals ripped open and, man, Cheonhae was just standing there, grinning all evil as he gave the order to attack. Suddenly, monsters and ugly goblins came pouring out of the portals, and it was chaos. Students were getting attacked, people were screaming for help, and panic was everywhere. Sirens blared, and the announcer said there was a monster invasion, telling everyone to run to the safe zone. That barrier literally covered the whole school, locking everybody inside and totally cutting them off from the outside world. Cheonhae looked super pleased with himself, standing in front of the barrier with his little army of goblins behind him. He basically announced that there was no way for any rescue to get through, so the Child of Prophecy would have to show themselves if they wanted to survive. He really thought he had everything under control. But bro, right as he was gloating, a red flash sliced through the air from behind him. Dude did not see that coming. Cheonhae was completely shocked and saw two serious-looking men in suits just appear out of nowhere. One of them, Kim Deok-hyun, was holding this massive red spear, and the other, Jong Hyun-soo, had a sword. These guys just wiped out a bunch of monsters in one hit. Yeah, the special forces had arrived. The students outside went wild, cheering and freaking out because they could hardly believe the special forces were actually here to save them. Apparently, these elites had only come to watch Lee Seo-jun's match at first, but now they were forming a hardcore defense line, blocking the monsters and keeping everyone safe. A teacher turned to Seo-jun to reassure him, promising that they would come join them as soon as the barrier was down, and told him not to be scared and to trust his teacher. Sun Woo thought maybe, just maybe, the arrival of special forces would flip the odds for the good guys. But then he realized there was still one giant problem left, this huge purple barrier. So, he started thinking hard about how they were going to get rid of that barrier, since it was keeping the real fighters stuck outside. Meanwhile, some poor student was banging his fists on the barrier, screaming for help and cursing his bad luck for not being in the stadium during the attack. Support teacher Kim Yoon-jin stepped up and explained that, to lift the barrier right away, they'd need another A-rank support mage. She sounded really stressed, saying there wasn't anyone like that around, because high-rank support mages are super rare. She yelled at everyone to look harder, warning that if she had to do it alone, it would take 30 minutes, which was way too long with monsters running wild inside. Sun Woo heard that and felt his stomach drop. He knew there was no way the students could last 30 minutes with those monsters everywhere, so getting the barrier open in time seemed almost impossible. Our MC remembered that Cheonhae's barrier skills were top tier, and in the original story, not even the hero Lee Seo-jun could beat him head-on. They only won because they managed a surprise attack. So our boy realized smashing the barrier the normal way was a total waste of time. He made up his mind to step in and try something himself. But just as he was about to move, a girl's voice called out, offering to help. It was a young woman who introduced herself as Yang Yong-yun, and she claimed she was an A-rank support mage who just happened to be nearby. She smiled all confident, saying she'd handle everything. But our hero's eyes went wide for a second. He knew who she really was. That was Yang Hyun in disguise, the enemy's right-hand woman. She was a demon. Sun Woo stopped, realizing if he exposed her right now, everyone would just get suspicious of him and it wouldn't actually help. Yang Hyun started working her magic, asking teacher Kim Yoon-jin to help her lift the barrier. The teacher, desperate, agreed. Magic circles started glowing all around, and it looked like everything was working. The students started to calm down, thinking the teachers had found a way out and they'd all be safe soon. But Sun Woo was not buying it. He grabbed Seo-jun's arm, pulling him away and telling him to follow, promising to explain later. Right then, teacher Kim Yoon-jin noticed something was off with the magic. She realized with horror that while she was trying to open the barrier, someone on the other side was actually locking it up tighter than before. Her eyes went huge. She figured out the truth. They weren't breaking the barrier, they were making it stronger. Cheonhae watched all this, and secretly admitted the teacher was pretty sharp to catch the trick. He decided he needed to shake things up and help Yang Hyun's act, so he made a sneaky hand signal. Suddenly, the goblins went wild and started attacking everyone again. Chaos exploded again, and the monsters rushed at Yang Hyun's group. Out of nowhere, A red energy beam shot down and blasted one of the monsters to pieces. Kim Deok-hyun had jumped in at just the right moment, saving Yang Hyun from the monster attack. He turned to check on her. Meanwhile, Yang Hyun watched them with this weird, sneaky smile, totally keeping up her little act and thanking them all sweetly for protecting her. Then she smiled, because she could feel the teacher inside becoming more panicked and slower to unlock this barrier. While all that was happening, our boy Sun Woo dragged Seo-jun away from the main gate to a lonely spot behind the exam building. Seo-jun asked, all confused, why they had to sneak off there? Sun Woo got serious and told him that this place was empty, so he could try to break the barrier from here. Seo-jun seemed confused and pointed out that everyone was already working on breaking the barrier at the front gate. That's when our hero dropped a truth bomb. He said the support mage, Yang Hyun, was actually a demon in disguise, just pretending to break the barrier but actually making it stronger. Seo-jun was totally shocked, saying they had to tell everyone right away. But Sun Woo stopped him, explaining that right now it was just a suspicion with no real proof, so nobody would believe them during all this chaos. Seo-jun argued, saying our boy had literally gotten a special class offer because of his barrier skills, so if he could break it, that would be enough proof. But Sun Woo kept it real, saying that in the middle of all this madness, not a lot of people would trust the word of some random student. So, he laid out his smart plan. When he managed to lift the barrier, Seo-jun should go and tell everyone what really happened. He pointed out that people would listen if the warning came from him, the genius everyone knew, instead of from a nobody like himself. Seo-jun got the message and agreed, but he wanted to know if Sun Woo could really do it. Our MC told him confidently that they'd just have to try, then moved right up to the barrier while Seo-jun kept watch. Sun Woo put his hands on the barrier and let his special outsider benefit system go to work. Magic formulas started lighting up in his brain, and suddenly, cracks started crawling across the barrier. Over by the front, Yang Hyun, the demon in disguise, looked like she'd just seen a ghost, realizing her so-called Great Demon Barrier was falling apart right in front of her eyes. And then, boom! The barrier exploded into a million pieces, sending magic shards flying everywhere. Sun Woo just stared calmly at his hands and said it wasn't a big deal. Seo-jun just gawked at him, but Sun Woo told him to hurry up and go do his part. Seo-jun stopped for a second, wanting to know why he kept hiding his skills, saying that getting some credit wouldn't hurt. Sun Woo just smiled and said this was enough for him, asking Seo-jun to keep all this stuff their little secret. Meanwhile, on the other side, things were going downhill for the bad guys. The demon leader chewed out Yang Hyun, calling her useless because she couldn't even hold one barrier. Yang Hyun panicked. She had double-locked it and had no idea who could have busted through like that. While she was freaking out, the teacher's squad came charging in, ready to take control. They are pro-hunter after all, but because they were locked inside the barrier, they couldn't help people outside. In an instant, monsters were getting crushed, and teacher Jang An-chol was just smashing goblins like it was nothing. Teacher Lee Hui-yang threw out lightning bolts, frying monsters everywhere, and she got a shout-out from Jang for her awesome aim. She shot back that his strength was just as good as ever. With those two and the special forces working together, the whole area was cleared out in no time. The teachers thanked the special forces for stepping in, and the commander said it was an honor. But things weren't totally chill yet. Jong Hyun-soo pointed out that the real mastermind could still be hiding anywhere, so they needed to search and regroup. That's when teacher Kim Yoon-jin stomped forward, still fired up, saying she didn't know who the mastermind was, but one person was making her super suspicious. Without warning, she grabbed Yang Hyun by the collar and demanded to know what she was doing when she claimed she was breaking the barrier. Jang An-chol tried to calm her down, but she yelled at everyone, warning them that Yang Hyun might be a demon. Everyone was shocked, and a bunch of students and teachers started whispering that Yoon-jin was being way too harsh. How could she treat someone who just helped like that? Deok-hyun and his deputy watched quietly, and when the deputy asked if they should do something, the commander just said, "Not yet." Yang Hyun, still playing sneaky, gave a fake smile and said she'd needed to slow down to match teacher Yoon-jin's weak skills, which only made the teacher madder. But out of nowhere, Seo-jun jumped in and backed up the teacher, saying that every time they tried to break the barrier, it just got stronger instead of opening up. Everyone in the arena turned to stare at him. People were whispering, super confused about what the top guy was talking about. Teacher Yoon-jin jumped in and asked Seo-jun how he accurately knew what was happening when she tried to open the barrier. Seo-jun played it cool and said he could feel that the barrier was off and that it worked in a weird way. But inside, he was sweating, remembering how Sun Woo told him to keep things secret. Still, he explained in front of everyone that he just knew the basics about magical barriers. Even so, everyone started getting a little suspicious, and soon people were muttering about Yang Hyun, the supposed support mage. Someone said they should check if that name was even on the records. So an employee pulled out his phone to look it up, and his eyes just about popped out. Dude was totally shocked by what he saw. Young Hyun realized her cover was busted and cursed quietly, sending a mental SOS to her boss Chonhae, asking what to do now. But Chonhae just told her coldly to handle it however she wanted. Right after that, a terrifying dark aura exploded out of him, showing everyone his true demon form. Special Forces Commander Deok Hyun clocked it immediately and yelled at his squad to catch the guy. The commander charged in, spear flying, but Chonhae dodged and melted into the shadows. The deputy freaked out, realizing this wasn't just some small fry. They were fighting an A-rank demon now. Not going to lie, things were about to go off the rails. Meanwhile, Yang Hyun figured it was all going south anyway, so she went full savage mode. Her eyes locked on Sojun with pure murder in them. Suddenly, she transformed into a huge, muscle-bound monster, and a bunch of other demons dropped their disguises too. They all started wrecking the place, attacking the students like wild animals. People screamed, chaos everywhere. But Yang Hyun, now completely lost it, charged straight for Sojun, wanting to crush him before she went down. But just as her massive fist was about to smash him, the air split with a flash of swordlight. Boom. Her head and body got sliced right in half. Blood everywhere, bro. It was brutal. Seojun just stood there, cool as ice, with his sword dripping red, and told the dead demon she'd definitely messed with the wrong school. After that, the battlefield finally quieted down, but the place was a mess. Dead demons and monsters all over, and everyone was catching their breath. Once the dust settled, Sojun gave Commander Kim a deep bow, thanking him for his help. The commander nodded back and joked about how it had been a year since they'd last met at the chairman's place. He told Seojun he saw big things coming for him as a mage, and said to come by later for a demon hunter reward. Seojun accepted, still acting super humble, but his mind was somewhere else. He was thinking about our MC, Sun Woo, and knew that none of this would have gone well without him. The real hero went totally unnoticed. Meanwhile, Sun Woo has his own mission. He just took off running at top speed. The dude needs to save the child of prophecy. He even swore under his breath, so you knew it was serious. He looked ahead and saw a huge explosion of fire, and his face went pale with shock. There, Ara, the fire mage, was standing in the middle of all that fire, with Ha Young trembling behind her. That was not good. At the same time, a demon named Jinsen faced them, looking super unimpressed. He told her, blunt as hell, that being second place at the academy was just disappointing. Basically, he called her weak and said the coming fight was going to be dangerous. Jinsen kept trash-talking, asking if this was really all she had and hinting maybe she was holding back because she had to protect someone, aka the scared Ha Young behind her. Ha Young stood there, totally freaked out, while Ara just glared. The story flashed back a bit to show that Ara had been training peacefully with her friend before Jinsen and his goblin gang crashed the scene with a surprise attack. Ah Young tried to step up and help, saying she wanted to fight by Ara's side. But Ara told her to just get out of the way and started building up a massive fireball in her hands. She promised she'd take care of this, but when she launched her big attack, Jinsen dodged it like it was nothing and appeared right in her face, mocking her for being so weak. He said he was starting to think she wasn't even the one he was looking for. Then, the demon just grabbed her by the neck and lifted her off the ground. He said her blood was full of magic, but she was still too weak to fight him. Ara started choking and fading out, unable to breathe, totally helpless. That's when Ha Young finally snapped and found her courage. She fired off some sharp magical shards at Jinsen, forcing him to block them. Ha Young, scared but determined, yelled that he should let go of her friend and said she'd be his opponent now. The demon tossed Ara aside like trash and started walking toward Ha Young, building up some terrifying dark energy in his hand and mocking her for even trying. Ah Young knew deep down she had no shot at winning, but she screamed that she couldn't just run away and leave her friend. She let loose with every bit of magic she had and actually managed to land a deep wound on the demon, making him scream in pain. And here's where it got wild. The demon realized his injury wasn't healing. He stared at Ha Young, totally shocked, and started to understand what just happened. At the same time, Ha Young looked at her own hands, confused because her magic didn't even look like ice. And she suddenly felt all her magical energy drain away and collapsed on the ground, exhausted. The demon's eyes went wide, and he grinned like a psycho. He announced out loud that he'd finally found what he was hunting for, the child of prophecy, the one mage born with the power to destroy demons. He reached out his dark, creepy hand toward Ha Young, promising to kill her right there. But before he could even touch her, a calm voice cut him off, saying that wasn't going to happen. That's right, our hero Sun Woo showed up at the perfect moment, stepping between the demon and the girl. He declared that the child of prophecy was way too important to die here, and then switched on his nature's heart trait so that blue energy just exploded around him. He smiled and told the demon straight up that there was only one guy dying today, and it wasn't going to be anyone but the monster. Yeah, please kill this bastard, my boy. Suddenly, the demon Jinsen lost his mind. He went straight for Sun Wu, screaming not to get in his way and shooting out a wave of dark purple energy that looked seriously nasty. But our MC wasn't scared at all. He just threw out his own magic, this bright blue magic barrier that spread out and blocked all of Jinsen's attacks like it was nothing. Sun Wu kept that smug look on his face, and his mana bracelet started to glow. He told the demon it wasn't going to work, and then boom, he blasted Jinsen with more blue energy, sending the demon flying across the hallway. Dude hit the ground hard, already starting to come apart into creepy black dust. Jinsen looked up, totally freaked out. He started ranting that Sun Wu's mana was insane, and he couldn't understand how some brat could have this much power. Bro, the poor demon had no idea who he was dealing with. Our boy just smiled, telling him that he actually had more experience than he looked. Then his hand lit up even brighter, and he hit Jinsen again. The demon was in agony, and then he just dissolved all the way, leaving only white dust behind. Suddenly, system notifications popped up in front of him. First, that B-rank villain Jinsen has been successfully eliminated. Then one telling him his causality just went up by 0.4. He got the Savior title and 3,000 points as a reward. Not bad, right? Our boy looked at Ha Young, thinking to himself that her awakening happened way earlier than he expected, but at least she survived. He knew this meant demons would keep coming for the academy, but at least Ha Young and Seo Jun would become stronger because of it. He looked at the unconscious girls and felt relieved they were still alive. Things switched over to the hospital after that. Yuara was lying in bed, looking at her phone and super annoyed about the news calling her a hero. She was muttering that it was pathetic to get treated like a hero when she barely did anything. Then Ha Young, also in her hospital gown, came over and told her to just relax and stop acting like she didn't do anything. She literally saved her life. Also, the school was making them rest because of minor injuries, and that the exams were already over, so they should just take it easy. Yuara got quiet and asked why Ha Young didn't just run away when she had the chance. She pointed out they weren't really close enough to risk their lives for each other, but Ha Young just smiled, saying anyone would have done the same. Then, she remembered how, when she was all alone, our boy reached out and helped her. That's where she got her courage from. She wanted to be that kind of person for someone else, too. She told Yuara it was okay to rely on someone else sometimes. That really shook up Yuara. Suddenly, Yuara had her own flashback, a memory of fire, her parents yelling for her to run while the building burned, her mom and dad telling her to escape. She screamed for them, but the fire took them away. Back in the hospital, she gripped her bedsheets, trembling as she relived it. Trying to act tough, she said she didn't need anyone's help. But Ha Young just smiled again and insisted that, just this once, it was okay to say thank you, since if Sun Wu hadn't shown up, neither of them would even be alive. That caught Yuara off guard. She asked what Ha Young meant about Sun Wu saving them. Ha Young smiled and motioned for Sun Wu to explain himself. Right on cue, our MC poked his head in the door, wearing his green hoodie and a big, innocent smile. He asked if everyone was okay. Yuara looked kind of grumpy, but Ha Young was happy to see him. Yuara asked what he wanted, and he said he came to give her something. He pulled out a fat stack of cash, 5 million won, and told her it was her share of the demon reward. Yuara looked at him like he was nuts, and asked why he was giving it to her. Isn't he the one who killed the demon? But our boy insisted he'd just landed the final blow when it was Yuara and Ha Young who did all the hard work. He tried to hand her the money, but she turned away, super embarrassed, saying she wouldn't take money she didn't really earn. She told him to split it with Ha Young instead. But then, out of nowhere, Yuara turned around, cheeks all pink, and said, "Thanks for saving her. Bro, new tsundere girl detected." Anyway, our MC thought to himself that he was planning to get closer to Yuara through Ha Young, but maybe he'd moved too fast. Then the system popped up again, saying Yuara's interest in him went up to affection level 1, and he got 2,000 points. Not bad, my dude. Suddenly, he got another system notification. A special discount popped up on a magic item that could store up to 30 kilograms. Sun Wu just smiled wryly, thinking, yeah, that's about right. He got all the points now. After that, Yuara was walking down the hospital hall, deep in thought. Inside, she was freaking out, thinking Sun Wu was lying about how the demon died. She remembered how, when she passed out, the demon was still going strong. There was no way she or Ha Young could have weakened him that much. So he must have been the one to actually kill the demon, all on his own. She thought about how Sun Wu suddenly showed all this crazy magic talent, even though he never acted like some prodigy. And she noticed how much Ha Young had improved because of him too. She started to wonder, why would a guy like Sun Wu keep his power hidden? She guessed, maybe, just maybe, he had lost his family to demons, just like her. Back in the hospital room, Sun Wu asked Ha Young if she'd told anyone about her new power. She promised she hadn't, and our protagonist told her to keep it that way. It was better if nobody noticed her just yet, so she could train without trouble. Ha Young was super excited, saying she wanted to study her new anti-demon magic herself. Sun Wu smiled, and thought about how Ha Young awakened her power a whole month earlier than in the original story. He figured that, if she kept leveling up now, it would be a huge help for the big fight against the Demon King later. He was feeling pretty good about raising one of Seo Jun's future teammates early. He promised her he'd make her a training plan and to ask him anything she was curious about. Ah Young suddenly gathered all her courage and said there was one thing she wanted to ask. She looked at Sun Woo, a little shy, and asked if he rushed to the training ground the moment the demon barrier dropped because of her. She pointed out he was always looking out for her during midterms, and even during the demon attack. Our poor protagonist was stunned, his mouth hanging open, as Ha Young started to ask if maybe, just maybe, he had feelings for her. Bro, is she gonna be the female protagonist? Bro, our MC was not ready for that at all. He froze, eyes wide, a bead of sweat running down his face. He quickly tried to explain, saying it wasn't what she thought. He took her hands gently and told her that during the midterm, he just believed in her potential. During the demon incident, he only ran in because he saw the explosion, not because he had special feelings for her. Ha Young turned even redder, looking away in embarrassment. Bro, Sun Woo is too harsh. She stuttered that it was just a joke and begged him not to misunderstand. Our boy just gave her a knowing smile, like he'd seen this kind of thing before. Inside, he thought that Ha Young was just a sweet, naive girl, and he needed to make sure she stayed focused. She needs to be where she belongs. Ha Young got a bit sad, saying she shouldn't take things the wrong way. Then, she suddenly handed him an envelope. Sun Woo opened it and saw a fat stack of cash, 7.5 million won. She said it was his tuition and called him teacher, saying they'd be working together from now on. The poor guy was floored but pretty happy about the money. He thought kids didn't really get how much cash that was, but hey, not his problem. Sun Woo told her he'd train her right, and Ha Young was all excited, saying she'd listen to him anytime. Our MC looked pretty proud of himself and announced that training would start tomorrow. But just as he was feeling good, he looked at his phone and his face turned to shock. Turns out, he was freaking out over a new 15 million won transfer. Dude, he lost his words. Why does everyone keep giving him the reward money? The truth was, Seo Jun is the one sending him the money right now. Then, scene change. Sun Woo, back in his school uniform, was walking down a busy hallway. He was feeling pretty good because he finally made it into the special class, something he never managed in his old life. He thought, if he was here, he could get closer to the big events and help save the main characters. The classroom was huge and fancy, filled with a bunch of top-ranked students. Lee So-jun waved him over, and our MC just stared, thinking about how he'd never been in this room before. Before he could even sit down, Park In-hwan, the student jerk, came over and put his arm around him. He sneered, saying a rat like Sun Woo didn't deserve to sit with them just because he took down a half-dead demon. Sun Woo just told him to mind his own business and that he was there because of the teacher's requirement. Park In-hwan didn't like that answer. He got up in Sun Woo's face and threatened to drag him out himself, calling him 72nd place. But Seo Jun stepped in, not having any of it. His eyes literally glowed red with anger. That bastard keeps mocking, saying their class average tanked because of this idiot, and Seo Jun needed to chill. Yuara suddenly said that if she counted right, when they ignored the test when Sun Woo became a clown, he was way better than In-hwan right now. Hearing that, this brat got super angry and tried to punch our boy, saying everyone is so stupid to defend this clown. But Sun Woo saw that and was done playing nice, so he grabbed In-hwan's arm. But suddenly, someone just yeeted In-hwan down the stairs and said he needed to cool down a bit. Dude landed in the floor, smoke rising off him, while everyone else just stared, completely shook. There, the one helping him was the special task force that visited the school for a special class today. Yeah, it was just like the original storyline. The man, Hyun-soo, suddenly remembered when he was freaking out because Deok-hyun, the commander, told him to go to the school. He said the recent demon attack was weird since demons usually worked alone unless they got orders from the king. He thought it was super suspicious how the demons got in so easily and figured there must be an insider at the school. Deok-hyun told his agent to work with the school and find out both the demon's real target and the traitor helping them. Back at the academy, Hyun-soo introduced himself to the special class students as a member of the association's special task force. Some students wondered if this meant they'd be sent out to hunt demons or stop terrorists, but Hyun-soo just laughed and said, nah, they weren't throwing a bunch of rookies into real danger. Instead, he said they'd be doing missions in areas where monsters showed up. But it was really just a training field, the dungeon was already cleared, and there were surveillance magic circles everywhere. He warned them to report anything suspicious anyway. Sun Woo listened to all this. Yeah, he knew the storyline, and the real reason why a special task force was here. He figured it must be to find the real demon insider, and the shocking part was that the insider was among these students. But he would keep quiet for now. What mattered now was to make sure Seo Jun got the S-rank sword from the dungeon's hidden stage, and supporting Choi Seo Yoon, Who would be paired with him during the activity? Suddenly, Hyunsu started making teams of two. Sunwoo was super confident, thinking he'd follow the original storyline this time and keep things on track. He won't be another variable that would mess up this stage, right? But then, the pairing results popped up. And surprise, bro, he got paired with So Yoon, first year rank 1. Sunwoo looked like he wanted to cry, poor bro. I started to feel bad for him. Anyway, So Yoon wondered to herself if Sunwoo was really that disappointed to be paired with her when every other guy was desperate to get close to her. Meanwhile, all the other students started whispering and glaring at Sunwoo, jealous he got So Yoon as a partner. Why did only Sojun and Sunwoo look unhappy to be paired with her? She knew Seojun probably didn't like her because she would become a burden, but why the hell does this clown senior also not like her this much? This doesn't make sense to her. Then, after she and Sunwoo started to walk toward the dungeon, So-yoon started overthinking everything. She figured, if both she and Sunwoo hated being paired together, this would actually make things easier for her. Still, she stared at Sunwoo suspiciously, thinking his actions were super shady. How did this guy go from last place to getting close with Seojun and now joining the special class? Suddenly, Sunwoo got a system notification saying Seojun was now curious about him, and he gained 500 points. Bro. Even Sunwoo was sweating, thinking she was staring a hole through the back of his head. He then turned and told her there was something off in the distance. Maybe they should check it out. Seojun agreed, but made it clear she wasn't falling for whatever he was planning. Still, she acted sweet and said, "Okay, senior." But deep down, she swore things wouldn't go the way he wanted. But she was still willing to work together. To be honest, she was curious what this senior gonna do to her. But Sunwoo, looking at her face, basically knew she was scheming something. Bro, he was not wrong. Around this time, So-yoon had been super desperate to get Sojun on her team. She should have thought having him close would make her look better, so she basically clung to his arm to increase her value. Never mind. Sunwoo tried to act chill and said they should just head over there for now. But in his head, he was already scheming, thinking he could use this moment to push things toward the original story he knew. So-yoon looked at Sunwoo with this thoughtful expression, thinking that the senior was actually surprising. She remembered that he went through some serious humiliation at the start of the semester, like, students straight up laughed at him and told him to leave because he was so awkward. Ah, the clown moment. So-yoon looked at him with suspicion. She couldn't believe he got so strong, but she still called it a mistake. Pushing himself to get into that special class might be a really bad idea. She thought if he stood out too much, he'd just make a bunch of enemies. Then we got this whole dramatic backstory about So-yoon. Everyone said she had everything: family, talent, looks. But the truth? Underneath it all, she was hiding a totally different side. She worked crazy hard because her family expected perfection. There was even this scary old man, her dad, I guess, who demanded she follow his life plan, not hers. So, all those nice smiles? Just her way to survive. She was lonely. For real. Now, Sunwoo asked what she meant about enemies. So-yoon pointed out that he knew what happened earlier. Basically, nobody was happy about him getting into the special class. Well, nobody openly showed it, aside from Park In-hwan, of course. But Sunwoo didn't care though. He said he had a life goal to achieve, right there in that special class. So-yoon was a bit shocked, hearing those words, and it made her remember how her dad controlled her future. Suddenly, So-yoon switched back to her smile and told Sunwoo that maybe now she understood why the teachers liked him. Then she asked, with a little attitude, what he was really hoping to achieve just by joining that class. Our hero got a little nervous. Dude, he didn't seem ready for that question. Suddenly everything went dark. He felt some serious killing intent and spun around, pushing So-yoon behind him just in time. Out of nowhere, a fire attack blasted at them. Sunwoo yelled for her to watch out, and she screamed as he tried to protect her. There, In-hwan showed up with a flaming magic and a bad attitude. He gave Sunwoo one last warning. If our MC wanted to survive, he needed to keep his head down at school. But Sunwoo? He wasn't backing down. He asked what would happen if he refused. In-hwan just lost it and shouted that our boy could die, then rushed in, fire blazing everywhere. Things got seriously insane. Meanwhile, in some secret monitoring station, a mage named Baek Ye-jin was watching the magic forest through a floating purple eye. She wondered out loud if there was really a spy among the kids, but honestly, she thought they were just playing around. Her colleague, Jong Hyun-soo, was way more suspicious. He told her to watch out for anyone acting weird and let him know right away. But suddenly she panicked. To be honest, she didn't know what happened, but there were students fighting among themselves. Back in the forest, things were getting wild. Our boy was thinking that In-hwan was tough, but he didn't have time to stall like this. He had a plan to execute. So, he gathered mana, and his hand was glowing with crazy blue magic while So-yoon started summoning ice. She stepped up to Park In-hwan and called him out, saying he was making the school look bad, and told him to stop trying to drag other people into his drama. Park In-hwan got super mad and called So-yoon names, yelling about why everyone always sided with Sun-woo instead of him. Then he unleashed this massive fire explosion, and there was a huge clash of magic. The people at the monitoring station saw the magic eyes disappear because of the fire attack and freaked out. Hyun-soo said he was going out to stop things before any students got hurt. He then ran off, leaving Baekhyejin to keep watch and hope nothing worse happened. In the forest, In-hwan kept mocking Sun-woo, telling him he should have just stayed a loser. But Sun-woo wasn't having it. He told So-yoon to stay back because it was dangerous, and she was shocked by how serious he was. Suddenly, Sun-woo put up a big blue spell shield to block In-hwan's fire. He told her that he would handle it. Inside, our hero remembered that before he changed his fate, he just watched In-hwan be a jerk because he thought he wasn't important, just an extra in the story. Now? No way. He wasn't letting that trash talker mess with him or anybody else. So, he went full beast mode. He activated the heart of Mother Nature and dashed around In-hwan at crazy speed, blue energy everywhere. Looking at that sudden power, In-hwan was totally lost and couldn't keep up. Then, bam! Sun-woo punched him right in the face with a huge magic punch, sending the bully flying. With In-hwan on the ground, terrified and almost crying, Sun-woo stood above him with a glowing ball of magic. He demanded a good reason to forgive him. Well, in the end, In-hwan totally broke down, begging for mercy and promising never to fight again. So-yoon, watching with her arms crossed, told Sun-woo it was a waste of magic to keep going. Our boy agreed. He never planned to really hurt the guy anyway, and told In-hwan to get lost and never come back, or else. In-hwan was desperate and even asked if Sun-woo would keep the fight a secret. Sun-woo was just done with him and told him to scram. But as In-hwan ran away, he shouted back, making sure Sun-woo would keep his promise. Our boy collapsed onto the ground, tired but satisfied. He said In-hwan could go suffer for a while, and honestly, he deserved it. Back at the monitoring station, Baekhyejin realized In-hwan was now wandering the training grounds and warned Hyun-soo about it. Hearing that, Hyun-soo said Roger, he won't let the suspected demon get out of here. Meanwhile, our boy was just smiling. Now, the whole mage task force was going to be watching that brat In-hwan, so things were about to get even crazier. He was sure that Brat was going to have a hard time soon. Man, he totally owned that fight. Anyway, In-hwan was still sprinting like some crazy animal through the magic forest. Bro was running for his life and honestly it looked pretty desperate. Why? Because Hyun-soo was chasing him like a madman. He thought to himself that he finally got away from that bastard Kim Sun-woo, but then he realized, what the hell, now that old guy was after him too. Poor dude couldn't catch a break. Back where the action started, our boy Sun-woo was chilling on the ground. He thought that all the chaos they just caused should be enough for a distraction, and he figured it wouldn't mess up the main story too much. So-yoon, feeling a little grumpy, handed Sun-woo a small ice shard. Our boy was surprised, asking her what she was up to. She told him his face looked hot, so she was just helping out. Not gonna lie, that was kinda savage. She said it was wild that someone ranked 72nd just beat Park In-hwan, who was ranked 5th. Maybe they needed to check the senior rankings again. Sun-woo kept it real, saying that if In-hwan had really wanted to kill him, he would have lost for sure. He said he just scared the guy away by acting intense. Still, he scratched his head and admitted he felt a bit bad. He guessed So-yoon probably wanted to be in the same group as Lee So-jun, but instead she ended up in this mess with him. So-yoon stood up and said she was just grateful he saved her, which got a blue system message to pop up saying her interest in Sun-woo went up by 1. She then told him that at the start of the semester, she didn't think much of him. She remembered seeing him acting like a total clown, always struggling in class, looking clumsy and desperate for attention because he had no skill. But now, looking at him, she said he seemed totally different from the loser she remembered. Sun-woo was a bit embarrassed, but So-yoon just hit him with that sweet, mischievous smile and said maybe he was just an amusing person. Our hero could only think, wow, so I'm just a clown to her, huh? She stood up, ready to go, and told Sun-woo they should keep moving. He looked kind of pouty, asking if they could rest a little longer, but the girl was already walking off. She said they needed to actually do something to show results. Otherwise, people like In-hwan would just keep looking down on him. But then, she noticed something weird. A giant snake monster with glowing red eyes was sneaking up behind her. She jumped back, yelling in surprise, while Sun-woo instantly gathered his blue magic, ready to fight. He wondered if it was just a regular training monster, but he wasn't about to take any chances. The snake monster went right for So-yoon, looking super scary and dangerous. For a second, it seemed like she was in real trouble. But right then, So-jun showed up, glowing sword in hand, looking all confident like some hero straight out of an action movie. So-yoon called out his name, totally relieved. So-jun checked if everyone was okay, asking if anyone was hurt. The three of them stood together, looking at the mess they were in. So-jun said he had been wandering around to help people, but honestly, he hadn't found any serious monsters until now. So-yoon, always on brand, gave him a sparkly-eyed look and tried to get him to sign a sponsorship contract with her family, saying his genius would shine even brighter if he did. Sojun just brushed her off, saying, "Maybe later." Meanwhile, our boy was watching all this go down, feeling pretty smug. In his head, he explained that this was all part of his plan. He had set things up so Soyun would end up near Sojun and the dungeon, making sure the big event, Sojun discovering the hidden stage, would still happen. Suddenly, he pointed out a glowing blue light coming from a cave, and everyone turned to check it out. They went to the cave entrance, and inside, they found a crazy hidden stage glowing with blue energy. Sun Woo was super excited, explaining that this kind of dungeon inside a dungeon was super rare. Soyun added that these hidden stages were way harder than normal dungeons, but the rewards were way better too. Sun Woo was basically patting himself on the back in his head because everything was going just like he wanted. Well, this hidden stage was where Sojun and Soyun teamed up to beat the boss. And Sojun got himself an S-rank sword and showed them in front of a bunch of reporters. But the real important part was that Soyun would grow as a person and join Sojun as a real comrade. Now, Sun Woo, full of confidence, suggested they challenge the hidden stage together. But Sojun, being the careful man he was, refused. He said it was too risky with so many unknowns, and that they needed to report it to the special task force first. Our MC was so annoyed at that, you could almost hear him screaming inside. Meanwhile, Soyun was looking at the glowing blue water. Suddenly, something super creepy happened. A voice called out from the water, telling her to come closer and try entering. In that moment, a shadowy monster, with long hair and glowing red eyes, reached out and dragged her down into the water. Our boy freaked out, yelling her name, while the system announced that the thing was called Ghost Witch, a rank B monster. Looking at the boss monster, Sun Woo and Sojun tried to save Soyun, but the Ghost Witch blasted them back with a huge wave of ice magic. Both of them were left standing in the weird, blazing ice, looking totally lost. Our boy couldn't believe it. To think the monster attacked first. The development has deviated from the original plot again. Then, Sojun asked what the hell just happened, and realized Soyun had been kidnapped by the monster. Now, Sun Woo looked super determined. He told Sojun they had to save Soyun, like, right now. Sojun hesitated, saying maybe they should wait for the special task force, but our protagonist explained that the monster could absorb mana, and if they waited, Soyun was definitely dead. He put a firm hand on Sojun's shoulder and said they had to handle it themselves. Sojun finally agreed, and they ran inside the dungeon. Meanwhile, back in the forest, Hyunsu had finally caught Inhwan and pinned him to the ground. The boy was losing it, yelling that he didn't do anything wrong. While Hyunsu grilled him about who he was working with, Inhwan said he didn't work for anyone. But Hyunsu didn't believe it. He said he was arresting Inhwan for colluding with a demon, slapping him with an emergency arrest. Poor guy just lay there, totally stunned. Dude probably had no clue how it all went so wrong. Hyunsu then called Baek Yejin over the radio, telling her to come secure the suspect. But Yejin had her own meltdown. She shouted that a new problem just popped up. 3 students had entered the dungeon that was supposed to just be a cave for training. Hyunsu wasn't worried at first, thinking the dungeon was deactivated, just a regular cave now. But then, Yejin told him there were signs that a real hidden stage had just appeared inside the dungeon. Now Hyunsu was freaking out too. Man, our MC had stirred up a storm this time. Anyway, inside the dungeon, Sojun was crunching across this super icy frozen ground. Bro looked around and noticed that the whole place was freezing cold. And he realized it was probably because the monster used the ice mana it stole from Soyun to make everything colder. Not a great situation if you hate winter, dude. He was straight up shivering, rubbing his arms like he was about to become a popsicle. He complained that he had a million things to do, but if he stayed in this cold, he was going to freeze before he finished any of them. Right then, Sun Woo did something smart. He pulled out a warm coat from his magic pocket and handed it to the boy. He told him to put it on, saying it had a heating effect, so he would feel a lot better. And yeah, Bro had also grabbed some warm gloves to help with the cold. Our MC explained, all smug, that he bought a bunch of winter gear before they came in, just in case. Sojun was honestly shocked, because an interdimensional pocket, basically a fancy magic bag, costs like hundreds of millions. He asked how the hell Sun Woo could afford something like that. But Sun Woo just shrugged it off and said, stocks, and told him not to ask any more about it. So, with their new winter drip, the 2 guys pushed deeper into the ice dungeon. Sun Woo pointed ahead and yelled that he saw Soyun up there. Soyun was standing in the distance, surrounded by ice shards and blue energy, waving her hand and calling out for help, saying she was fine and wanted them to save her quickly. Of course, Sojun was ready to run over and get her out of there, asking where the exit was. But Sun Woo got suspicious. His senses fired off a warning that someone nearby wanted to kill him. Bad news, bro. He instantly figured out that Soyun was being controlled by the Phantom Witch. So, he told Sojun that if they wanted to save her, they had to take down the witch first. And then, out of nowhere, the ghost witch showed up behind Soyun, controlling her with a creepy shadow hand. The witch looked like pure nightmare fuel with her glowing red eyes and that giant evil smile. She started bragging about how tasty Soyun's manna was, and said that once she finished eating her up, Sunwoo and Sojun were going to be her next snacks. Right after that, the witch blasted both of them with a giant ice attack. Well, as an undead monster, the Phantom Witch was the total opposite of Sojun's light attribute. But the real problem was that the witch was straight up hijacking Soyun's body. Then, the fight was on. Soyun, still possessed, floated up in the air, surrounded by swirling blue magic. Sunwoo, watching this mess, thought that they had no choice but to play defense. Sojun tried to fight her, clashing his golden sword against her ice blade, but it was rough. Soyun, with that evil witch smile, kept taunting them, asking if they were too scared to fight her because she was a girl, and then mocking Sojun's attacks for being weak. The boy got pushed back again and again, having a seriously bad time. Feeling no way out, Sojun was getting hit by even more ice attacks, and finally turned to Sunwoo, begging for a plan. He said, "Come on, dude, tell me what to do, you've got something, right?" Well, our boy finally smiled and pulled out a glowing red potion. He explained that they had to find the witch's real body. If they could threaten the main body, the witch would be forced to leave Soyun. Sojun looked around and complained that there was nothing but snow and ice, and asked where exactly the witch's real body was hiding. But our protagonist just shrugged and said he didn't know that much. Sunwoo drank some potion and thought to himself that, in the original story, Sojun just beat the witch by cutting through the whole area with his sword. So, he believed that Sojun could definitely do it now too. He kept saying that only Sojun could threaten the witch. Meanwhile, on the outside, there was more drama. Park and Hwan, that guy from before, was kneeling in a magical prison, chained up and blindfolded. Hyun-soo, the serious agent, was grilling him, asking that all the fighting before was just because he was embarrassed after losing a fight that he started himself. And Hwan admitted it, looking super defeated. That brat bully image was 100% gone now. Then, the other agent yelled at Hyun-soo, saying he was supposed to keep the students safe. The man had to admit it was his mistake and explained that the hidden stage was a weird anomaly they hadn't planned for. The other agent asked if there was any way to rescue the students, and Hyun-soo said they'd try to open the entrance from the outside, but if that didn't work, they could only hope the kids cleared the stage and made it out alive. Nearby, the other students come by, looking at all the chaos. One of them said out loud that being trapped in a hidden stage was basically a death sentence, since you usually couldn't get out. Yikes. Then there was Yuara too, standing in the crowd with her eyes glowing red and looking intense as hell. She stared at the entrance, thinking to herself that she still had things to ask Sunwoo. She wouldn't let anything bad happen to him. Back inside the icy stage, Sojun was still frustrated, asking Sunwoo what he meant by saying he could do it. Our boy just smiled and told him he could let loose and use all his power in this place. Suddenly, they got attacked from behind by ice spikes, and Sunwoo shouted, saying Sojun didn't have to hide his strength and could show off as much power as he wanted. Somehow, Sojun remembered the last time he went all out was during a demon attack. Even during midterms, he always held back, worried he might hurt someone if he got too strong. But what the hell? How could Sunwoo notice these tiny differences and believe him this much? In the end, he chose to go all out and yell that he would be serious now. Hearing that, the ghost witch just laughed at them, daring them to try, calling them mere human children. So Jun got fired up. If everyone was expecting so much from him, he had no choice but to live up to it. He raised his sword, pouring out all his golden mana, face full of pure determination, and prepared to go all out. Yeah, go all out, bro. I want to see your true power. Sensing the blinding light, the witch suddenly freaked out, realizing that much light mana was bad news for her. In that moment, Sunwoo shouted that Sojun should just destroy the whole dungeon. Crazy advice, right? The witch started to panic. She realized her main body was in danger, so she came out of Soyun's body and entered his main body again. Suddenly, the witch became so mad and prepared her best attack. But Sojun just shot off this massive beam of light from his sword, blasting right through the icy stage. He hit the witch so hard that her creepy spirit form started to break apart. Well, Sojun stood tall in the icy mess, looking like a total boss. Bro, no wonder he was the true MC. Look at that crazy power. Not gonna lie, that was insane. Meanwhile, outside the dungeon, things were wild for the teachers and agents. They were all staring at this crazy magic barrier, trying to break in, but it was useless. Hyun-soo was stressing out, talking on the phone, ready to take the blame for everything. But the person on the other end, his boss Dokhyun, just told him to chill. Sojun would find his own way out. Everyone was confused, until, out of nowhere, a giant beam of golden light shot up into the sky from the hidden stage. The whole team of agents lost their minds, wondering what the hell was happening. Even Yuara saw the light too and asked what the hell was happening. But then she looked closer. She recognized that light. It was definitely Sojun's power. Back in the dungeon, Sojun was looking at his sword, which was now destroyed. He realized that his mana was way too strong for a normal sword to handle. But looking at the place where the witch died, there was something like a sword. The system explained it was the Blue Moon sword with rank S. Sunwoo pointed at the fancy sword and said it was for Sojun. He told him that the boy did most of the work fighting the witch, so he deserved it, and besides, he needed a good weapon. Sojun hesitated, asking what about Sunwoo's share of the loot. But our boy just laughed and said he could have everything except the sword. He then sat next to Soyun, taking care of her. Then, Sojun picked up the Blue Moon sword and couldn't believe how powerful it was. He even said to himself that Sunwoo was a real class act for giving it up so easily. He was definitely a guy with a big, kind heart. Suddenly, a bunch of system messages popped up just for Sunwoo. He got points for helping clear the stage, and it looked like Sojun was now even more interested in him. Man, the stats just kept going up. Sunwoo now checked on Soyun, who was still out cold. He could tell she was suffering from mana exhaustion, which is just a fancy way of saying her power was totally drained by that witch. He explained that Soyun wasn't at a high enough level to fight like that, and the witch's control had done real damage. Sojun then came over with all the items, and Sunwoo took them, saying thanks. The boy wanted to know what Sunwoo was planning, so our MC pulled out a glowing blue potion, the Heart of the Ice Spirit. It could heal mana and make Soyun even better with ice magic. He gently gave her the potion, and after a moment, Soyun woke up, all confused and groggy. She sat up, shouting in surprise when she saw everyone staring at her. Sunwoo and Sojun just grinned, glad she was finally back to normal. She looked around and asked where the hell she was, and the guys explained that they were in a hidden stage, and Sojun had saved her by beating the boss. Soyun was shocked. She thought it was impossible for people their age to clear a hidden stage. But she didn't have much time to think, because suddenly a bright blue portal appeared. Soyun cheered up, saying the exit had opened, and added that the light looked beautiful. Suddenly, Sunwoo stopped them before they walked out, acting all dramatic, asking for help to walk because he was tired because of mana exhaustion. Bro was faking it, and you could tell he planned this just right so he could act all weak right after Soyun woke up. So, Sojun and Soyun helped him walk, and our boy was smirking to himself, thinking that when this was all over, Sojun and Soyun should be the ones in the spotlight, not him. He looked at Sojun, basically saying that these two were the main characters now. And then, boom, they were out. The hidden stage closed behind them, and suddenly they were back at the academy grounds, in front of a big crowd of students and teachers. Everyone was cheering and clapping for them, especially for Sojun, who was now famous for clearing the hidden stage, the youngest person ever to do it. Sojun's new sword, the Blue Moon sword, got everyone's attention. All the students were freaking out, and later, a big-time international mage magazine did a whole article on Sojun, calling him a genius and showing off his new sword. The whole world started noticing this kid. Meanwhile, Park In-hwan was cleared of being a demon accomplice, but people found out about all the bullying he had done, so he got in serious trouble anyway. Sunwoo thought to himself that this jerk wouldn't be causing problems anymore, and honestly, he seemed pretty happy about it. After all the chaos, he felt like things were finally going back to the real story he remembered. The government guys decided to keep the special class's mission a secret, and Soyun was now set to get closer with Sojun, just like in the original story. Of course, Hayoung was another case. She was still emotional. She basically tackled him in tears, asking if he was okay and if he was hurt anywhere. Poor guy had to deal with that, but eventually things calmed down. Now, he was ready to move on to the next big thing, but then Soyun suddenly snuck up on him, smiling like she knew something. She said she heard from Sojun how our boy was actually the one who decided to go save her, and how hard he fought in the hidden stage. Sunwoo tried to wave it off, insisting it was all Sojun's doing, but the girl just smiled and let it go, saying she'd see him at the next special class. Bro, he's collecting girls like a Pokemon card. Anyway, that's when Sunwoo got another round of system messages saying Soyun's interest in him went up, so yeah, now things were getting complicated for our boy. He figured he'd just have to do even better next time. The next incident was getting closer. And somewhere else, another student was busy training hard, looking determined as ever. Who is this girl? Another future wife or villain?